Do 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 do. All right, I think we're coming back in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here we go. Are we back? Are we back? Are we back? Let's look. Okay, we're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. All right, folks. That was pretty frustrating. Pretty frustrating. Not gonna lie. But all is well. We figured it out. There was an issue with the settings on the camera. Who knows? But sorry about that. Hope you enjoyed the Nina Turner interview, the Mayor Carmen Yulin Cruz interview, and we have some other interviews to show you as well. So we will definitely do what I intended to do, which is recap a major rally from Senator Bernie Sanders, which had Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Michael Moore, Mayor Carmen Yulin Cruz, Nina Turner, Tiffany Caban, and 25,000 friends. So remember, we gotta get this to more people. Take 2 today. We got 128 people watching right now, but only 42 of you have pressed the like button. So I need every single person right now, especially for all the hard work we just did to get this up. Press the like button. It's right there under the video, the thumbs up button. The more people that press thumbs up, the more people that will see the live stream. Super important. Really appreciate it. Press that like button. Also, follow us at Status Coup at the Twitter. We will get into membership a little bit later. Subscribe to our podcast at Status Coup's podcast and join our email list at statuscoup.com. Enter your email there. We also have some good news to tell you about. Hold on, let me make sure Jen knows we're back. We are back. Back live. We also have some good news. Even through that audio dysfunction, we just passed $78,000 on the GoFundMe. Now we are $7,000 away from the promised land. Less than $7,000 away, actually, from the promised land. Thank you. $350 from an anonymous donor. I don't know who that donor is, but thank you so much. That is an amazing, generous amount you just gave to get us over the finish line there. Also, Carrie Nanstad, who has donated many times. Thank you for the $100. Both of you got us past $78,000. And maybe I'm being greedy, but I don't think it's out of the question that we could hit $79,000 today. GoFundMe is super important, and based off this rally yesterday, we're going to need all the money we could get to cover Bernie Sanders' campaign, which to me yesterday was in many ways a rebirth or like a relaunch, so to speak, of his campaign. So we're going to get to that. But thank you so much for the donations. We are now, whatever that is, $906 away from 79,000. So let's just see what we could do here today. I don't want to be greedy. And I appreciate everyone who bared with me through that audio problem. We're working out the kinks here. I'm still using Ty's camera. Ty, even though he's not with Status Quo anymore, still part of the family. So we're using his camera. In the field, we've been using Joseph's camera, but the camera I use for my live streams is still Ty's. And I think somehow some buttons got changed on Ty's camera yesterday, and that's why we had the audio problem. But we're good now. And also, a little promo, I will have infamous Russian asset Jill Stein Tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern Time, for a interview with Jill Stein, who was smeared by Hillary Clinton, in addition to Tulsi Gabbard. So we'll have Jill Stein tomorrow. So looking forward to speaking with Dr. Stein about the smears against her. And, of course, the smears going around against Tulsi Gabbard and other anti-war voices. So we're going to have that tomorrow. And also, we are now at 708 status quo members. Membership is the most important thing. So if you say to me today, Jordan, what do you want? You want GoFundMe or membership? Sign up to membership. Jen and I were just in the field for a week on a top secret story. We look forward to telling you about that story. Right now, we have two major outlets that are interested in the story. It is a story that, frankly, I think for the 708 members we have now are going to be extremely proud to be members after we break this story. For those that aren't members yet, I think this story, if you don't sign up before then, I hope this story will help you see that we're the real deal and we're the only outlet in the field doing real investigative reporting. So, getting to yesterday, and I'm going to play some clips from yesterday, so definitely work with me here. Also, in addition to GoFundMe, this is a super chat, so whatever you want to leave, whether it's super chat, whether it's GoFundMe, we appreciate all of your support. So, I want to start yesterday with, to me, and we already played the Nina Turner interview, we already played Mayor Carmen Yulin Cruz, that interview, so really enjoyed speaking with them both. I think they are great people to have on the campaign as far as strong voices, particularly these Bernie bro voices, who obviously are black and Latina and queer. Tiffany Caban yesterday, and Bernie, and of course Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He is showing that this Bernie bro nonsense was nonsense from the beginning. And yesterday, in the 4 years I've been covering rallies and things like that, was the most diverse crowd I've ever seen. And I think it was a conservative estimate when they said 25,000. To my eyes, it looked closer to the 30,000 when you factor in all the people that couldn't get into the rally. When you walked out of that rally, the streets were filled with people. So obviously Bernie Sanders yesterday showed not only he was back, but he never went anywhere really, even though the corporate media has tried to make him appear like he's lost his mojo and he's going nowhere quickly. So, my initial thoughts on yesterday's rally, and remember, keep it coming in the GoFundMe, keep it coming in the super chat, and press the like button right under the video so we can get the audience up. A couple things. Number one, what really stood out to me about the rally yesterday was, without even bringing up Elizabeth Warren's name, was never mentioned once. Nina Turner had aggressively kind of went after Elizabeth Warren without mentioning her name. What really stood out to me yesterday was the stark contrast between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. In terms of not just the not just among the constituency, right? Elizabeth Warren has more support among people making over $50,000 a year, people with advanced degrees. Right now, she's doing very well among all people, but her core constituency is really the Hillary Clinton voter, which is that making more money, well-educated. What you saw yesterday was not only the difference in terms of that multi-racial working-class coalition that Bernie Sanders has in droves, which is what I think you really will need to defeat a fascist in Donald Trump, is what I really think you will need to defeat the racism that Donald Trump represents, the Islamophobia that Donald Trump represents, the anti-immigrant fervor that Donald Trump represents. But what I really also think yesterday showed, in contrast to Warren, and I'm being very specific in contrast to Warren because, as I've talked about in other live streams, clearly Biden is shrinking by the day. And I think Biden, honestly, is on the verge of a political collapse. I don't wish him an actual collapse, like physically, but politically speaking, Biden's in trouble, and we'll get to that later. Why I think it was such a stark contrast is because Elizabeth Warren is talking about structural change, big, bold structural change. but she never really provides an answer for how you get that structural change without defeating the capitalist corporate pigs. She never really gives an answer on how you get her version of a wealth tax passed, how you get her version of healthcare, or whatever her version is, because one day it's Medicare for all. Now they're talking about her people are looking at other ideas for how to pay for Medicare for all. She never explains how do you deliver this structural change. It's just buzzwords, structural change, big, bold ideas, but how do you do this? And of course, every single presidential candidate, if you go back to every campaign you've looked at, you've watched, for the 500 people watching so far. And remember, press that like button. It's the thumbs up button right under the video. We got 500 people watching right now. Only 221 of you have pressed that like button. So what you could do to get the audience up, press the thumbs up button right under the video. Even if you don't like me, just fake it till you make it. Press that like button. Please, 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 press that like button. So what's Bernie Sanders, what every speaker was talking about yesterday, is not only how to get elected and how you're going to win and how you could beat Donald Trump, but that's just step one. What they're talking about is how you actually defeat the corporate capitalist oligarchy, how you actually, as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was talking about, the pressure. It's no joke when you become a congresswoman or congressman or senator. How you defeat these entrenched systems, these entrenched forces, is not with educated white papers, is not with, 57 plans or whatever she has. It's through grassroots organizing that goes beyond just electoral politics. It's through grassroots organizing that goes beyond a primary or a general election. It's through galvanizing troops consistently and permanently to get the policies you want done, by lighting an inferno under the anuses of the Mitch McConnells of the world and, sorry if this is graphic, the Nancy Pelosi's of the world. You don't get the ideas done that Elizabeth Warren says she's for without a massive movement behind you. And what I've seen, in fairness to Elizabeth Warren, is, yes, she's getting big crowds. Yes, she's doing very well in the polls. In many polls, she's listed as the front runner. You know what I think about a lot of these polls. I'm not going to be a polling truther, but a lot of these polls wildly undersampled the very young people that were out there for Bernie Sanders yesterday. But what Elizabeth Warren doesn't explain, and what her campaign supporters don't explain, how do you fundamentally present this structural change if you don't have an army, a movement of working class, multiracial working class, multi-generational working class that's older and younger behind you? You don't defeat somebody as, frankly, an expert at propaganda, marketing, and frankly, scary fascism at this point, what we're seeing from Donald Trump. You don't defeat that with some educated plans or some educated white papers. You got to get people into the streets. You got to get people out there to bang on doors, to knock on doors, to canvass. Not just during the election, not just on election day, but after you get elected. And I think what I saw yesterday, particularly what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was speaking about, was Bernie Sanders has that, and I have not seen Elizabeth Warren having that. What I've seen from Elizabeth Warren is, instead of building that kind of politics and that kind of movement, I mean, this was reported weeks ago. She's been going around the country having hot tea with the Democratic Party leaders and the who's who of the establishment. That is the difference. In phone calls, text messages, and small gatherings before her rallies, as well as in one-on-one meetings over hot tea at her Washington condominium, Ms. Warren is simultaneously courting and assuring Democratic town leaders, statewide officials, and the chiefs of the country's largest unions. The outreach is not just an effort to avoid the confrontational approach Mr. Sanders took in 2016 when he inveighed against party insiders and the committee itself. which he correctly believed was favoring Hillary Clinton, Ms. Warren is also trying to allay concerns among Democrats that as a progressive candidate proposing sweeping change, she may not have enough mainstream appeal to compete with President Trump in the general election. So, Bernie Sanders' rally yesterday, which again, I think 25,000 people was a conservative estimate. I think it's likely that it was more than that. I think what Bernie Sanders showed yesterday, with obviously the assist of Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Tiffany Caban, Nina Turner, Carmen Yulin Cruz, the mayor of Puerto Rico, and Michael Moore, Bernie Sanders has awoken a sleeping beast. Not Hillary Clinton's base, the base of working class people. And look where Hillary Clinton lost. She lost in the states with blue collar, white, and black working class people. We talk about the working class like there's two working class, the white working class and then black people. Let me tell you something, because I've covered this for years. There's a whole lot of black people working at General Motors. There's a whole lot of black people, working class people in Michigan and Wisconsin and Ohio and Pennsylvania. It's not two separate things. The working class consists of black people and white people. The media pretends like it's some different thing. It's not. And that multiracial working class coalition is the difference between Bernie and Warren. And something that does not show up in polls is the fact that Bernie Sanders' campaign is targeting people from that multiracial working class coalition that has never voted before, that has given up on politics, that don't trust any politician. Those people are not called for surveys. Those people don't show up on polls. That is the group that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez galvanized in her campaign victory over Joe Crowley. Her campaign targeted specific pockets of Queens and Brooklyn that didn't traditionally vote, and we know what happened. So, to me, it's one thing if you could get a big crowd. Elizabeth Warren has got big crowds. If you actually look into the polling, if you look really in depth of the polling, Elizabeth Warren's support is not hard and fast. A lot of her supporters have not made their final decision, are open to other candidates. I think what yesterday showed, unfortunately for the media who has pushed this narrative and pushed this message that Bernie Sanders' time was in 2016, she has taken a lot of his voters. I think what this showed was not that Bernie's back, it's that he really never left. Sometimes in campaigns there's ups, there's downs, the polls say what they say, but I think what that rally showed yesterday is there is the same working class voters that came out for Bernie Sanders in 2016 that are still with him. And I frankly think, particularly with Ocasio-Cortez now on board and going around the country, I think you might see I don't think it was a lot. I think most of Elizabeth Warren's surge has not come from stealing Bernie Sanders supporters. It's come from stealing Kamala Harris's voters, because Kamala Harris has been hemorrhaging voters. I think that's where Elizabeth Warren has seen her biggest gains. But I do think for the portion of Bernie Sanders support that moved over to Elizabeth Warren, I do think you're going to start to see some of them reconsider. Because what you saw yesterday with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie, that is very, very different than what you see in an Elizabeth Warren rally, talking about plans and big structural change and yada, 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 without any mechanism, without any force, without any movement behind it. It's easy for politicians to say this is a movement. Every single presidential candidate says this is a movement. It's another thing to actually show that movement. That's the difference. Bernie Sanders more volunteers than any other candidate in this campaign. Bernie Sanders with more donations than any other candidate in this campaign. Bernie Sanders with the lowest average dollar donation than any other candidate in this campaign. That's what a movement represents. Remember to press the like button. We got 700 people watching right now, and only of that 700, only 382 of you have pressed that like button. So we need over 300 more of you. Press that like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the video. We got more interviews to play for you. I got Josh Fox. I also have regular Bernie supporters are interviewed. We also definitely need to get into Joe Biden's, I don't even know what you call it anymore. I don't even think it's a campaign at this point. It's a he's a blustering, mumbling, bumbling jagoff. And will Joe Biden's continual decline, will that help Bernie, Warren, or America's mayor, Pete Buttigieg? Also want to get into Hillary Clinton's despicable nonsense about Tulsi Gabbard and Jill Stein. And by the way, if you're coming to the live stream a little bit late, tomorrow we will have Dr. Jill Stein, an interview with Jill Stein, airing at our normal live stream time, 5 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. Really excited to have her on. Definitely think we need to address this dangerous nonsense, calling people you politically disagree with Russian assets, unknowing or knowing. It is unbelievable how the lengths that Hillary Clinton and this neoliberal army will go to try and attack anti-war voices that don't bend the knee, if you're a Game of Thrones fans, to their warmongering. So we'll have Jill Stein tomorrow. Looking forward to that. So I want to play. And let me remind you, because we definitely have more people. We just passed $78,000 in the GoFundMe. I would like very much to see if we could hit $79,000 while we're live today. Thank you, Lawrence, for the $10. I thank the anonymous donor, $350, Carrie, $100. So we're now less than $7,000 away from finishing this baby. So any amount is appreciated for the 700 people watching. Whether you got $5, $20, $50, this is all for in the field aggressive reporting. So we could get out on the campaign trail, cover Bernie, challenge Warren, challenge Biden, and challenge whatever other neoliberal surprises the corporate media and the Democratic Party establishment is going to throw in the way of progressive change. So, and that GoFundMe is very helpful because, like we said in the beginning, Jen and I are working on a massive story. I don't want to tell you which outlets, but we're talking to 2 outlets right now. We're probably going to decide which outlet to go with this week. It's big. That's all I can say. It's big. So definitely keep it coming in the GoFundMe. And lastly, if you can't do GoFundMe or you don't want to do GoFundMe, we actually prefer you signing up today as a member. That is what funds us for the long term. Statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. The membership, the consistent monthly membership that we're getting, whether it's $5, whether you want to do the $10 plan, we also have a $179 annual plan. That is what is funding us to have a cameraman, to have Jen, to have Colin, to go out in the field. Jen and I were just gone for a week doing investigative reporting, kind of a rare thing these days. But being away for a week, even though we weren't live, we kind of hit the mother lode. We kind of landed some information we're not supposed to have. We landed documents we're not supposed to have pertaining to a massive story. And guess what? We were able to stay out there for a full week rather than a day because we had the money, because of the membership, the ongoing membership. If we continue growing this membership, if we reach our goal of 1,000 members by the end of this year, the sky's the limit. When there's a will, there's a way. We have the will. We are the only independent outlet doing more than 24/7 Trump. We're the only independent outlet doing investigative reporting in the field. So for those of you who say, Jordan, stop asking for money. Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't criticize the corporate media. You can't criticize certain independent outlets for not doing anything other than Trump, but then say, well, I'm not going to support independent media who actually does investigative reporting, who actually rolls up their sleeves in the trenches. So please, if you got $5 to $10 a month, it's well spent as a member of Status Coup. So I want to play a part of Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's speech that I found very powerful. Let's take a look.
It feels like just one accident away from everything falling apart. And we have to change the fundamental logic of a system and a politics that puts corporate profit ahead of all human and planetary costs. But when you rewind on that story, when I was a baby, my family relied on Planned Parenthood for prenatal care. Then Bernie Sanders fought for me. When I was growing up and education was being gutted for kids in the quote-unquote wrong zip code, Bernie Sanders fought for us. When I was a child that relied on CHIP so that I could see a doctor, Bernie Sanders fought for a single-payer healthcare system. When the federal government decided to discriminate and abandon my queer family and friends, Bernie Sanders was putting his career on the line for us. When I was a waitress and when it was time for me to graduate college with student debt, Bernie Sanders was one of the only ones that said no person should be graduating with life-crushing debt at the start of their lives. Bernie Sanders did not do these things because they were popular. And that's what we need to remember. He did this, and he fought for these aims and these ends when they came at the highest political cost in America. No one wanted to question this system. And in 2016, he fundamentally changed politics in America. We right now have one of the best Democratic presidential primary fields in a generation. And much of that is thanks to the work that Bernie Sanders has done in his entire life. I'm in the United States Congress now. And that's a long, long way from being a sexually harassed waitress in downtown Manhattan 1 year ago. However, in this new historic freshman congressional class, an overwhelming amount of them now reject corporate PAC money. That's thanks to Bernie. An enormous amount of the House of Representatives endorse Medicare for all. That's thanks to Bernie. More people now than ever recognize the climate crisis as an existential threat, but also our greatest economic opportunity. And that's thanks not just to the climate work of Bernie Sanders, but the climate activists that are part of mass movement politics in the United States. Now that I'm on that other side, I can tell you the halls of Congress are no joke. It is no joke to stand up to corporate power and established interests. It is no joke. It's not just about standing up and saying these things, but behind closed doors, your arm is twisted, the vice pressure of political pressure gets put on you, and every trick in the book, psychological and otherwise, is used to get us to abandon the working class. And it has been in that experience over the last 9 months that I have grown to appreciate the enormous, consistent, and nonstop advocacy of Senator Bernie Sanders.
I got chills, they're multiplying, and I'm losing control. Wow. Let me tell you something. I don't mean to be a Bernie bro or anything, but that one got me. That long passage by Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez really, really got me. There were so many things she said that I think are even Bernie Sanders surrogates so far, I don't think have been as eloquent as that. And I think without mentioning Elizabeth Warren's name, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez drew such an amazing contrast between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. But before I get to that, I just want to say, because we all know, the 800 people watching right now would have went nuclear if Ocasio-Cortez did not endorse Bernie Sanders, as would I. So we need to be clear. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez deserves a huge amount of credit for sticking with her political convictions, which, to be honest with you, what Ocasio-Cortez did in endorsing Bernie Sanders now, in endorsing him earlier than she was going to endorse him, in forfeiting whatever benefit she could have had by waiting and leveraging her endorsement for later on to get whatever more she wanted. What she did was what Elizabeth Warren failed to do in 2016, which is actually follow and make a decision based on the courage of your conviction. Elizabeth Warren chose not to endorse Bernie Sanders because she doesn't follow the courage of her convictions. She follows same old politics. That doesn't make her Lucifer. That doesn't make her as bad as Hillary Clinton. That doesn't make her as bad as Joe Biden. But it shows why she's no Bernie Sanders. And frankly, she's no Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Thank you, Wendy Kelly Friedman, $20 in the super chat. Thank you, Jordan, for all you do. So sorry I didn't get to see you yesterday. Me too, and awesome to see so many of you that came over, and we said hi, and I interviewed a lot of you, and selfies. It's amazing. Obviously watching Status Quo grow is amazing. It's a whole different animal when you actually talk to people in person. It just registers differently that we're actually making a difference when you see people come up to you and thank you for your coverage of A, B, and C. And that helps sustain me and Jen. And I know Joseph, who was there yesterday, his first rally, he did a great job. And Colin, who works part-time for us, seeing people talking and seeing people thanking us and seeing people tell us which stories they love and yada, 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 really makes a big difference. So to me, the standout thing that Elizabeth Warren, AOC was talking about, again, it wasn't explicitly mentioning Elizabeth Warren, but I think clearly showed the difference. The difference between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, if you want real change, is Bernie Sanders has never done or taken the easy road. Bernie Sanders has never made decisions based on what was politically expedient. Bernie Sanders has not made decisions based on what polls well, or what might get him a higher position, or what matches whatever the political trends are. And for those that are more quote unquote pragmatic, for those who say, well, the way Warren has practiced politics, which by the way, my old colleague at the Young Turks, me and Emma debated this when I was at the Young Turks, and her answer, I don't know what her answer is now, but her answer back then was like, God forbid, Elizabeth Warren's a politician and she acts like a politician. Yeah, that's the problem. Nobody, I don't even think Bernie Sanders' strongest supporters would argue that Bernie Sanders, if elected president, would have to compromise on certain things. You don't get all the things you want all the time. This is not a parliamentary system. I wish it was, frankly. Bernie Sanders would have to compromise. But there's a difference between making strategic compromises, if elected, and compromising your values all along the way to get elected. Because you don't get to compromise your values. You don't get to make backroom deals before election, which frankly is what Elizabeth Warren has been doing. What do you think it means that she's going around the country having hot tea with the who's who of the Democratic Party establishment? You think in those meetings she's telling them, like, too bad, it's my way or the highway, you're just going to have to go along with what I want? No. She's signaling that she's willing to play ball. And the problem with that, if you are willing to play ball, if you are willing to make these mini little compromises before even getting elected, that indicates that you are flexible. Not in terms of compromising strategically, you are very flexible on what your convictions are. That is why I've said from the beginning, I don't think she's Hillary Clinton. I don't think she's as bad as Joe Biden, but I don't trust her on health care. I don't trust her on Medicare for all. I don't even trust her on all these plans she says she has, because anybody can hire a bunch of wonky kids to write up plans. I'm not saying her plans aren't good. I'm not saying she hasn't, done some progressive things in her career. But who is consistent? Who has been there from the start? Who, when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was living in the Bronx in this small apartment with her family, or when she was on the CHIP program, who was fighting for her for more? Who has been fighting consistently for the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes of the world, for the Ilhan Omars for the world? That's Bernie Sanders, and it's not really close. If Bernie Sanders was not in this race, we could have a different discussion. If he never would have run, maybe Elizabeth Warren would be a more palatable choice. But he is running. And I think what Ocasio-Cortez was saying right there, Bernie Sanders has been the consistent leader of the working class when it wasn't politically in vogue, when there was no Occupy Wall Street, when there was no 2016 election, when there was no anti-establishment fervor, when it wasn't cool, when he was laughed out of Congress, when he was a congressman, not a senator, when he was kind of, banished to the side of the room, because, he's so extreme. He spoke out and he stood out and he kept fighting. That is a leader. And frankly, those types of leaders have the best shot to defeat a fascist. I never got on board with calling Trump a fascist, but at this point, I have to call him what he is. Trump is acting like a dictator. Trump is every day doing things that dictators around the world do. You don't beat that with a bunch of hoity-toity plans. You beat that with 25 to 30,000 people out at a park on a Saturday. You beat that with, at this point, I believe it's somewhere between 1.2 and 1.3 million volunteers knocking on doors. You beat that with old people, young people, black people, brown people, white people, indigenous people, handicapped people, the whole gamut. That's how you win. And I know that most of the polls show she is in the lead. And I'm not even disputing that. Yes, there are polls that, frankly, I don't think are too trustworthy. There are a lot of polls that, frankly, I think are wildly undersampling younger people. However, even with that, those polls don't show grassroots canvassing. Those polls don't show the grassroots organizing on the ground. Remember, in 2007 and 2008, Hillary Clinton was beating Barack Obama in most of the polls until 2008. So later in the process than we are in now. Hillary Clinton was leading him, but Barack Obama was out organizing her digitally, through volunteers, knocking on doors, and that's how he became president. Remember back then, Barack Obama's campaign and his campaign structure and his campaign infrastructure was called like the most well-polished machine in electoral politics history? I think that's what Bernie Sanders is forming right now, quietly, as the media tells him to drop dead or drop out. So I think Ocasio-Cortez's speech yesterday, I think, showed the main difference between Bernie Sanders. Because some people say, oh, right, Elizabeth Warren made a mistake by not endorsing him, but it's like, get over it. I always have said, no, don't get over it. That says who Elizabeth Warren is as a leader. Again, it doesn't make her an awful person. It doesn't make her Lucifer. It doesn't make her Hillary Clinton. But it shows, can I trust this person to be consistent? Can I trust this person to have the courage of her convictions? Can I trust this person to not give away the farm and compromise her ideals right out of the gate? And I think she has shown over and over by threading this needle and trying to have it both ways, by being, talk about I'm a progressive and I'm this and I'm that and I have a plan for everything from Swiss cheese and I I'm not going to take money during the primary, but I will during the general. Wait, no, I won't during the general. Oh, wait, no, I will fundraise for the DNC, which will benefit my campaign in the general. I mean, she's all over the place. And she won't give a solid answer on Medicare for all because she doesn't strongly believe in it. As I've reported here, in 2008, she co-wrote a book. In that book, she and her co-author said the main, most effective plan for healthcare is single payer. At the time, it was single payer. It wasn't Medicare for all. Wasn't a phrase. She was for it. Then she runs for Senate in 2012 in Massachusetts, a pretty liberal state. She's asked during an interview, "What about single payer?" "No, I'm not for that." Because she didn't think it was politically popular at the time, or she didn't think the country was ready. That's the difference. Bernie Sanders has always fought for what he truly believes is needed, whether the seesaw, whether the momentum was there for it or not at that time. That is how leaders actually galvanize people to create change, by pushing for things when it's not politically expedient, pushing for things when it doesn't seem politically possible, pushing for things when you don't see the steps on the staircase, or you don't see the road to get there, but leading on it and eventually people following. I'm sure Bernie Sanders at many points thought he was a lone soldier going into the woods, but he fought for it anyway because it's the right thing. That's what I think is the difference between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And frankly, I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, there's a lot of Democratic Party establishment leaders who say Twitter's not real life. Well, I mean, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, I think she has almost 6 million Twitter followers. Okay, you could say that's not real life, but she's got a pretty big megaphone on Twitter. Got a pretty big megaphone on social media. I don't know what her Instagram following is. So Bernie's only chance, and I've said this from the beginning, Bernie's only chance is to bring out a record number of young people in these primaries. Well, you got somebody who's got a major microphone, and her biggest supporter base is young people. At this point, I don't know if Bernie Sanders is going to be able to pick off older voters. The older people are down with corruption and down with complacency and down with the art of, this is politics or this is the way things are, and Bernie's living in a fantasy land. I don't think he's going to get those people. I think he needs to bring out a record number of young people, and I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a major, major asset for that to happen. Sure, Fox News and MSNBC and CNN and all these people. What did John King on CNN say after the debate? Is this too internet? Is this too urban? I don't really know what that means. But people who go on the internet also vote. People who live in cities also vote. And frankly, something the media really, really doesn't want you to know, people in rural America, they also like the message of AOC and Bernie Sanders. So I want to air an interview I did with a Bernie supporter yesterday at the rally. Her name was Jessica, which I think you'll see from the interview. I think Jessica is a perfect representation of that multiracial working class coalition that Bernie Sanders is representing now with the help of AOC. Let's play that interview. And as a reminder, we have almost 1,000 people watching right now. So awesome, awesome audience so far. Of almost 1,000 people watching right now, only 667 of you have pressed that like button. So I need 300 more of you to press that like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the video. Even if you don't like me, fake it till you make it. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see the live stream. Super, super important to press that like button. Also want to remind you, we are live on Sundays when everyone else is sleeping because we are trying to fundraise for Status Coup. We have passed $78,000, so thank you for that. Thank you, Jeffrey just left $10, Doug $5, Lawrence $10. I would love, if you believe in miracles, if there's a little juju I could get from Bernie's big crowd yesterday, I would love to get to $79,000 today. If that's possible, it's going to take a village. If everybody watching right now throw in $5, I'm terrible at math, but I think that would probably do it. And we're close. I mean, we're less than $7,000 to go on this $85,000 GoFundMe goal. And as a reminder, folks, Status Coup, I mean, I'm not comparing us to Bernie Sanders or anything. I mean, we don't have one plutocrat funding us. We don't have any bankers, any fossil fuel people, any big pharma people, any real estate D-bags, any Silicon Valley D-bags, none of them. And we don't want them. The biggest donation we got was $5,000, literally from a working class person in Arizona, I believe. This anonymous donor lived, and he just gave us money. I had no idea it was out of his retirement, but he believes. He believes in status quo. I offered him. I said, I don't want to take your retirement money. Apparently, he had enough. He threw us $5K. We have not had the usual suspects funding us, and we don't want them. We have you funding us. Also, real quick, as a reminder, in addition to GoFundMe will end. We're close. Membership is how we grow for the long term. We are growing from the grassroots, like Bernie says, from the bottom up. In less than a year, we started our membership program in November of last year. So in less than a year, we're over 700 paying members per month. You can become a Status Quo member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. It funds the investigative journalism and the in-the-field reporting we are doing that others are not. Let me play this interview for you. This was with a Bernie Sanders supporter, Jessica, after the rally. Jordan, I'm here with Jessica. We're starting to really clear out, but we just had approximately 20,000 people clear out of this park. Kind of Bernie's greatest hits, I call it. What do you think?
I thought it was terrific, and I just want to say that I think I represent in one person so many of the different types of people who support Bernie. I'm Jewish, I'm Puerto Rican, my grandma was born in Cabo Rojo, and I'm non-millennial, 50 plus, and I'm a veteran officer of the United States Air Force and sister to a quadriplegic brother. So we had, I think everything, and I can't tell you how much I support Senator Sanders. I supported him last time, I support him even more now. He's just everything. Medicare for all, tuition-free public college and universities. Really, my heart is so full I can barely speak. And I think Senator Sanders said it best when I watched him interviewed, when he said, my philosophy is that when you hurt, I hurt. And on some level, when I hurt, you hurt.
You know what's interesting to me? Obviously, there was a lot said. You had Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez,
Right.
Puerto Rican mayor. But she said something that I found really compelling. Bernie came down to Puerto Rico with no cameras,
That's
with
right.
no fanfare, for no political reasons, other than he wanted to help and he cared. And frankly, there's really no politicians that do anything for no benefit. Versus the other candidates who, it seems, are changing with the wind.
And I would just add to that, that's also when Bernie got a coat for somebody in Vermont who had no coat. He went in and there was no press. And when Bernie took people across the border to get prescription drugs, said, they're astronomical here, where people are deciding between paying their rent or food or medicine, he did that without fanfare and he didn't publicize. The best thing about Bernie Sanders, the very best thing, is that he's about love and he knows that it's not about him. That's why people love him. That's why we've got #NotMeUs, because Bernie knows it's about all of us together. We can make real change in this country for everybody.
What would you say to former Bernie Sanders supporters who still love him, but whatever, they think his time was in 2016, they think, he might be a little too old, they think Warren offers more concrete plans?
I definitely have something to say. I say, first of all, age. My own brother, he had a catastrophic hemorrhagic stroke at the age of 46, okay? And now he is a complete quadriplegic. So I'd say that bad things can happen to people at any age. And, a few years of Bernie is better than lots of years with anybody else. That's number one. Number two, he's in better health now. His arteries are unblocked. Many people, I read a lot about this. I'm a kid of two scientists. A lot of people have this surgery. They're better than ever before. And the other thing I would say is, in speaking about policies, Elizabeth Warren was a Republican. I'm not going to, she was a Republican. She identifies as a capitalist, and her policies are nowhere near as progressive as Bernie. They're like Bernie light, and I just say, why have an imitation when you can have the real thing? And someone who has been consistent, honest, and embodies integrity for decades. So that's what I say.
You know, one thing I find interesting, and obviously Bernie's campaign isn't like going really verbally at Elizabeth Warren yet, and I don't think she's Hillary Clinton, let's put it that way, but Elizabeth Warren uses these phrases like the accountable capitalism. Well, how do you hold capitalism accountable without a fierce movement behind you? Because
Agreed.
every presidential candidate I've ever heard talks about, oh, it's a movement, it's a movement. Bernie actually has one.
Exactly.
Whereas Warren, so far, most of her support is Hillary Clinton. You know, a lot of older voters support Warren, a lot of more affluent people who make a little bit more money support her. It's not that she doesn't have good plans, but how do you get plans through? Ocasio-Cortez said it. It's no joke dealing with these people coming at you without that movement behind you.
I completely agree with everything you just said, and I would add that I really, you know, my family now, my parents came from nothing. You know, I'm a kid of an immigrant mother. Forgot to add that to my list.
You're like a smorgasbord.
I really am. When you think about it, a lot of people are, you know, there's no, you know, Bernie Light isn't the real deal. Bernie has the movement. He has the people, and I think that that's essential because the reason why Bernie has generated so much support is because of his honesty. He tells it like it is, you know. And I think that that's what people really see, and it resonates with them. And I'm a veteran. I support Bernie. I mean, and there are many more of us. I'm not alone.
My last question. You know, I know people in my life that are older. Look at my parents, God bless them, but they're deranged on politics. My dad especially. But they see, you know, older people sometimes kind of get a little complacent with the corruption. Like, well, that's just the way things are, and oh, you know, he's great, but like none of this stuff, it's all a pipe dream. Why are they wrong? Why are these things not a pipe dream? Medicare for all, free public college, canceling medical debt, student debt. Because to me, what these older people are advocating for is basically like crumbs and corruption.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think that the key thing people have to recognize is that there's, you know, maybe there's always going to be some corruption, but systemic corruption, part of the system, that's what has to be rooted out. And personally, I would never, you know, if I wanted something, I would never start lower than what I wanted. I would start with my ideals, with what to dream big. I mean, this is America. I mean, people used to dream big and make incredible things happen. But what is very interesting is I have now seen, with the example of my family, that basically everyone in this country is one catastrophic injury away from financial ruin. When my brother had his catastrophic hemorrhagic stroke 5 years ago this month, it destroyed everything. We need Medicare for all, and I think that that's what people have to see.
Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
Oh, I love her. Love that woman. And I think she's a perfect representation of what that rally was about yesterday. She basically, you know, kind of checks a lot of different boxes and spoke about Bernie's consistency and the love he represents, which I think was really awesome. So we'll have more interviews with just regular Bernie supporters over the next few days that we'll publish. We'll also, if you missed it, we'll publish the Nina Turner interview, the Carmen Yulin Cruz interview, all that. So thank you to Jessica, and thank you to you. We got 930 people watching. I know there's like audio where you can hear it in one ear, but you don't hear me. We're gonna figure that out. I don't know what the issue is, but we're working on it, folks. We are a startup, and we're working on figuring things out. So hopefully, bear with us. I think you heard what she was saying, which was most important, way more important than I. But I don't know. I'll talk to Joseph and figure out the audio on our end. So you saw those kinds of individuals like Jessica all over the place who are talking about Bernie's consistency. The consistency is why it matters. The consistency is, I think, what is a great contrast to President Trump. Okay? That is why it's important. So it kind of inspires and kind of solidifies what I talk about every day when I speak with people like her, because it tells me, no, I'm not like imagining things. This is why Bernie would be the best candidate to take on Trump, because people can identify with the authenticity. People can identify with the working class bona fides that a Bernie Sanders represents. And I think that's really, really, really important. I want to show you now another interview I did with Josh Fox, climate hero, documentary filmmaker. He was there. He's always been a surrogate of Bernie Sanders. And he also pointed out some differences between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren on the climate. So let's take a look at this interview. And before I do, just want to thank Davey, $5 in the GoFundMe. David, $10 in the GoFundMe. Jeffrey, $10 in the GoFundMe. We're now at $78,134. Keep it coming if you can. Here's my interview with Josh Fox. Hey, it's Jordan, joined by my brother, as people tell me, Josh Fox, my twin. So let's just start. We got Keystone coming up. Construction there is starting soon. Obviously, you were one of the leading leaders against the fight there, dating back to the last decade against Keystone. Very dangerous, crosses thousands of water bodies. You also obviously have the lead that we're seeing in Newark now. Still, we have problems in Flint, other places. You're also seeing lunatic in Brazil destroying the Amazon. It seems like the United Nations and the 12 years thing might need to be amended.
Well, we're already in 11 years by now, right? But it's true, the environment's under assault all across the world. And it's because of this administration. There's no question. That's why we need a candidate that will appropriately address this emergency. And the only one who's doing that is Bernie Sanders. I mean, if you look at the Green New Deal of every other candidate, no one comes close in terms of how much money is spent, what a priority it is. We're talking about, I think, a $12 to $16 trillion plan for the Green New Deal for Bernie Sanders. How do we get the money? We tax the rich and we scale back military spending. That's who owes us. That's who's oppressing us right now. We know that, right? The billionaire class and the military. So we can fix this problem. We can fix the world, but it's going to take incredibly bold leadership. And there's nobody in the Democratic field who's doing that except for Bernie.
And what's amazing to me, I mean, you see it everywhere. Even like in the beginning of October, it was like 90 degrees on the day of the strike that thousands of people came out. I feel like the media, it's almost like they're Republicans in a way when it affects them. So it's like it is an emergency, but they treat. I mean, listen, Trump, the impeachment, I support it. But I mean, what's more important here? The Ukrainian stuff? Can we walk and chew gum at the same time is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, just to address the climate strike, it was the most hopeful, most beautiful, most optimistic march, one of my top 5 marches of all time, right? I mean, this was 200, 300,000 people, 50% of them under the age of 16 years old. I mean, you could not stop these kids.
3 million globally.
Yeah, globally. But here in New York, I'm talking about, right? So you had this incredible exuberance, this never say die attitude, this amazing innocence. That's what we need, right? We need optimism, we need hope, and those kids have it. So we got to follow what those kids are doing. It is unbelievable, right? So I forget the second half of the question. but
the media is treating this as an issue rather than the issue.
Let me just say something. Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were pushing fracking as a policy throughout all of Europe, Eastern Europe especially, Ukraine especially. So, we have to impeach Donald Trump, absolutely, but there does need to be a long look taken at democratic policies that support environmentally destructive policies. Donald Trump is going down. Donald Trump is going to get impeached. The impeachment's going to last a long time. Donald Trump has to be removed from office. The man is a maniac. The man is insane. And the man is obviously not fit to be president in a thousand different ways. And this is just one of the ways that he's been caught, and we have to make sure that that happens. But we also have to make sure that we're not voting for Democrats to support fracking. Joe Biden supports fracking. His son was in the Ukraine pushing fracking. That is an incredible conflict of interest. It always has been a conflict of interest. I'm not, saying that like there was some kind of quid pro quo, but definitely you've got to look at American foreign policy that's pushing the fossil fuel industry all across the world. And the Obama, Biden, Clinton mess was all part of that. So when we're looking at Joe Biden's candidacy, we absolutely cannot continue to have a person who's pushing any kind of fossil fuel. And that's clear. It's Heather Zeichel, who left the Council on Environmental Quality at the White House for a board position at Cheniere Energy, a lucrative board position, right, at the #1 fracking export company in the world, is now Joe Biden's environmental advisor. It's a very tight-knit circle of people who are a revolving door between the fracking industry and those neoliberals. We have to make sure that we're not voting for them. Bernie Sanders is the way out of that.
Well, frankly, elephant in the room, I don't know what Elizabeth Warren's position really is on fracking. I looked on her website at first. There was nothing on there. Then when asked, her campaign said she's against it. Right. But you're pretty astute. Has she been a fighter against these things as long as Bernie?
No. Well, no one's been a fighter as long as Bernie. And, you know, the truth of the matter is that Elizabeth Warren changed her position on fracking minutes before the CNN climate debate. Originally, she was for a halt on fracking on public lands. But it's like, you know, the vast minority of fracking happens on public lands. The majority of fracking happens on private lands. So then she came out and she said, I'm for a ban on fracking on private lands as well, which was extremely welcome. And I welcome her joining the chorus of Democrats who are saying that fracking should be abolished. That is a major victory for our movement. But yes, absolutely, it starts with Bernie Sanders. It starts with Bernie Sanders saying back in 2015, 2016, we're for a ban on fracking. That's when I came aboard the campaign, right? Because that was the first major candidate for president in history that said we want to ban fracking. And, you know, so it's nice to see Elizabeth Warren. It's nice to see other Democrats. I think also Cory Booker, Marianne Williamson saying they want to ban fracking. But the truth of the matter is you've got to look at the people who were there from the beginning, who knew that we were out to protect our communities and protect our health and protect our children from the start. But I definitely welcome the position, without a doubt.
You know what's interesting to me? I don't want this isn't about like trying to demean Warren, but her whole thing is accountable capitalists. Accountable capitalism. I haven't met a lot of accountable capitalists when it comes to fossil fuel industry. Right. You know, ExxonMobil, we find out more treachery from them, how they hid this and covered this up. And other fossil fuel companies, yeah, they're changing their portfolio a little bit, wind, solar, renewables, but they're still in the game on fossil fuels. Can you really fight this urgent crisis holding hands with the capitalists?
Well, look at the plans, okay? Bernie Sanders' Green New Deal is $16 trillion. Elizabeth Warren's $3 trillion, okay? So although I do appreciate and love some of what Warren has said and her positions, you've got to look at the policies and which ones are stronger. You have to draw a distinction there. Bernie Sanders' policies are stronger. The Green New Deal is stronger. It deals with taking that money from the billionaire class, from the military. Elizabeth Warren's plan is rooted in exporting our renewable energy industries overseas. So that's capitalism, right? And she, you know, did vote for the military budget of Donald Trump, the most recent one. So
Pentagon is the biggest contributor to climate change in the world.
It is, absolutely. And I just came back from Mexico doing a Green New Deal conference there. And one of the major things that was pointed out that I heard at that conference is we know who's accountable. We know who's running the death squads in Central America. We know who owes us money, and that's the oligarchs and that's the military. We have to look at that within the United States as well, right? So we have to say the military spending is completely out of control and the oligarchy is not paying taxes. In just those two areas, you can pay to fix this country. You can pay to fix this this world in terms of climate change, in terms of our part of it from the United States. So we have to look at who's the strongest policies, right? So that's Bernie without question.
And last question, are you and Susan Sarandon going to ruin the election and elect Trump again?
Well, you have to talk to her. She just went that way. I think obviously that's absurd, right? I mean, look at the most unhinged comments of Hillary Clinton this afternoon. I think the voters understand that when they're given a choice for real change and real authenticity, which is the Bernie Sanders campaign, that's going to beat Donald Trump. And I mean, look at what's going on in Iowa, right? Iowa, Bernie beats Trump, Warren,
only one.
And Warren and Biden don't. And we have the media against us. We know that. We have, a clear bias that we're seeing on television. But the facts remain that when you have a campaign that's a movement of the people, that will be more powerful than anything. And that's what we're building right here, right now. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to win. So, you know, honestly, the media loves to make big stories about who's blaming who for what, you know. And I will say that just like last time, I will do everything that I can to defeat Donald Trump, right? You know that. I was on the Democratic Platform Committee. We wrote, between the Sanders campaign and the Clinton campaign, the most progressive document that's ever been produced by a political party in the United States, and I was going to fight for that in the 2016 election. At the same time, this is the moment where we have to say no to the neoliberal class, no to the Biden, Clinton, Obama past, which didn't do what it was supposed to do for the American people, didn't protect the environment, it didn't raise up the working class, it didn't raise the minimum wage, it didn't protect us when it comes to health care. We have to start to think about how the failures of those policies are right on display right now in the Democratic primaries, and there is only one candidate who we know we trust in the long haul, and that's Bernie Sanders.
And what are you working on these days? Any new films, any new projects?
Yeah, I have 3 new projects coming up right now. I'm doing an episodic series on climate change called Climate Revolution. I'm making a new film with HBO called about the border and climate change, so about climate migration. Because if what we think is bad at the border right now, just wait until climate change kicks in. We're talking about 1 billion climate refugees worldwide, so we're tracking stories of people who are forced to migrate because of climate change from both sides, from Paradise, from New Orleans, and from the Virgin Islands, and from obviously Central America where there's horrible drought. So climate and migration, that's my next big project with HBO. And I have a live solo performance that I've been doing all across the nation, which we're going to broadcast live from a very important theater here in New York City in January. I can't tell you the name because it's going to be announced in a matter of weeks, but look out for that. It's called The Truth Has Changed. It's about smear and misinformation from the fossil fuel industry, smear and misinformation in the media. Some of the things that you and I witnessed firsthand during 2016.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it, my friend.
All right.
Josh Fox, climate activist, documentary filmmaker with the important information. And I think based on what we're seeing now going on all over this country and all over the world, I think, yeah, another 4 years of Donald Trump, I don't think this country could take it. More importantly, I don't think the world could take it. He is a very, very, very dangerous president, and he is a gift to the fossil fuel industry that are trying to squeeze as many years possible out of that, squeeze as much juice out of the orange. They're trying to, just try and reverse the clear trajectory to renewables and try and squeeze as many years left as possible that they could keep destroying the planet. So thank you to Josh Fox for that interview. We got a couple more GoFundMe donations during that interview, so thank you. Tanya, $27. Anonymous, $8. Hugh, $10. Davey, $5. We're now at $78,179. Less than $7,000 to go. Less than $7,000 to go on our GoFundMe. Keep it coming if you can. We really, really appreciate it. I want to move off the Bernie rally for a slight moment. I want to move off the Bernie rally for a slight moment. And we got 953 of you. 950 people watching right now. So keep it coming. Press the like button, press the share button, so we could get this over 1,000 lickety split. Also want to make sure I'm not missing any super chats. NBW Doughboy, $2. Speak on people bashing Bernie for lack of Tulsi support. I was about to talk about Tulsi. Look at that. Let's see. It's not going up any further, so sorry if I missed any super chats. I don't see any more. Hold on. Did I miss any other super chats? Apologies if I did. So I want to talk about Hillary Clinton and this ridiculous McCarthyism. That's frankly dangerous. McCarthyism. And for those of you that missed it, tomorrow I will be interviewing Jill Stein, who was also smeared by Hillary Clinton, calling her a Russian asset with, of course, no evidence. So I'll have that interview for you tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern time on the live stream. What I find ridiculous, and obviously if you're living under a rock, Hillary Clinton I think it was on radio or on a podcast, said that she thinks the Russians are targeting Tulsi Gabbard and that she's an asset, whether she knows it or not, She also said Jill Stein is an asset. Obviously, this is the playbook from the Clintons. We know from the book Shattered that right after her shameful, disastrous loss to a reality TV star used car salesman, her campaign was already fabricating a narrative that Russia was responsible for her losing because they didn't want to face reality to the real fact she lost. And I argued about this with somebody last night who truly believes that social media bots brainwashed people in the Midwest to vote for Donald Trump. Well, did those social media bots brainwash the 5% less black people that came out for Hillary Clinton compared to Donald Trump? How about the 5% less Latinos that came out for Hillary Clinton compared to Donald Trump? How about the 6% less age 18 to 29 that came out for Hillary Clinton as compared to Donald Trump? Do we really think in the Rust Belt and all over America that like memes on Facebook swayed people? Like, I think this is A, it's not even quantifiable. There's no way of quantifying that. But B, it's just stupid. The whole thing is stupid. You know, Hillary Clinton and the neoliberal class that generally live on the East Coast, the West Coast, and are doing fairly well, they don't understand why people would vote for Donald Trump, because their jobs were not sent to China and Mexico, because their plants didn't close down, because they don't have to work 2 to 3 jobs, because they have decent health care, because they haven't had their pensions cut in the Midwest, because General Motors isn't yanking their health care when they dare strike. This Hillary Clinton's base doesn't get that that's what those people have been dealing with in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio, since the 1980s. The controlled demolition of unions and the working class. That's why those people voted for Donald Trump, because he spoke their language. Of course, he was totally full of it, but he did speak their language. I saw it. I was there. When Donald Trump was screaming, I'm getting rid of NAFTA and I'm bringing your jobs back and we're taking it to Goldman Sachs, he had them at NAFTA. It wasn't the Russian bots. So Tulsi Gabbard, who has been consistent, she's been against the United States being in Syria because A, there was no war declared. Congress didn't authorize U.S. troops to go to Syria. I know, call me old-fashioned, but like Tulsi Gabbard and I and others believe like we should follow the Constitution. We shouldn't just carte blanche illegally send troops wherever the hell we want. So Tulsi Gabbard in the last debate, she actually said Donald Trump did the wrong thing, that Donald Trump shouldn't have moved the troops out of northern Syria haphazardly with no political solution, with no deal made between the Kurds and the Syrian government. So she did not say or express support for the position that Russia supports. I heard it. I watched her speak in the debate. She said she was against what Donald Trump did. So if she's saying she's against what Donald Trump did, that she doesn't agree with just haphazardly moving the troops out of northern Syria, because that's what Trump did, which is not what Russia is for that. She's not speaking the language of Russia. So how is she a Russian asset? Doesn't make any sense. You could be against Tulsi Gabbard. You could be against the fact that she met with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. That's fine. You don't have to support her. But to call her an agent, either knowing or unknowing, of the Russian government, it's absurd. It is on the level of the Committee on Un-American Activities from the 1940s and 50s. It is McCarthyism straight up. And if we want to keep it super real, does anyone think it's a little coincidental? And thank you, Alex, for the $5 in the GoFundMe. We're now $16 away from $78,200. Keep it going in the GoFundMe if you can. Also, keep signing up as a member to Status Quo as we're live. We're now at 710. We had 2 signups while I was showing those interviews. So we want to get to 1,000 by the end of the year, but obviously you got to crawl before you could walk. Maybe by the end of today, now that we're at 710, maybe we could sign up 10 more members, get back to 720. We did have some credit card declines and whatever. So we got to reach out to people, make sure they know that their credit cards decline, because we definitely want to keep growing our membership. So statusquo.com/join. But does anyone find it kind of coincidental that Hillary Clinton is raising all this ruckus when Ronan Farrow's new book shows that Hillary Clinton's henchmen were reaching out to Ronan Farrow while he was reporting in the reporting stages for his Pulitzer Prize winning story that exposed Harvey Weinstein as a rapist, Neanderthal, degenerate, horrible person? Anyone find it kind of coincidental that Hillary Clinton is throwing rockets and lobbing these insane smears at Tulsi Gabbard, which are, totally capturing the news media, when honestly, at the same time, it shows that Hillary Clinton, this female champion, this champion of women's rights, this champions of female reproductive freedom, this champion of sexual assault and Me Too victims, basically was trying to kill a story about her good friend and top donor and top fundraiser, Harvey Weinstein. Just saying. I'll read this a little bit from BuzzFeed. Journalist Ronan Farrow said the lack of support from powerful progressives such as Hillary Clinton, I don't know where BuzzFeed's getting that she's a progressive, during his reporting on sexual assault allegations against Harvey Weinstein felt like a gut punch. Quote, it is an example of how power protects power, Farrow said in an appearance on BuzzFeed's program to discuss his new book, Catch and Kill. Farrow recalled that he was due to interview former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton for his last book, War on Peace, The End of Diplomacy and the Decline of American Influence, when word got around political circles that he was working on a story about Harvey Weinstein. Quote, there was an apparent effort to cancel that interview after they raised concerns about the reporting on Weinstein. Weinstein was a powerful ally of Clinton's and had helped bundle and raise millions of Hollywood dollars for her. Quote, it was a personal moment of gut punch to me, Farrow said. People that I thought would support that kind of reporting were actually very leery of it. A spokesman for Clinton on Tuesday said there hadn't been anything scheduled at the time, so it couldn't have been canceled. Blah, 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 blah. Other reports, by the way, show that Hillary Clinton's spokesperson, Nick Merrill, who was also a member of her campaign in 2016, had reached out to Ronan Farrow while he was reporting on Harvey Weinstein, who has raped multiple women, who has essentially forced women who were trying to move up in the acting career to do him sexual favors to get ahead. Vile behavior, disgusting behavior, criminal behavior. Hillary Clinton's spokesperson reached out to Ronan Farrow saying, this story you're doing, yeah, it's a problem for us. So call me a cynical Susie when Hillary Clinton, with zero evidence, with zero anything behind it, is throwing out full-blown McCarthyism against Tulsi Gabbard and Jill Stein when it's exposed that basically her henchmen were trying to kill a story about a brutal rapist. I don't know. Seems very coincidental to me. So obviously, I showed these the other day, but I'll show them again. Obviously, Tulsi Gabbard came out swinging, said, thank you, Hillary Clinton. You're the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption, and personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for so long, have finally come out from behind the curtain. From the day I announced my candidacy, there has been a concerted campaign to destroy my reputation. We wondered who was behind it and why. Now we know it was always you through your proxies and powerful allies in the corporate media and war machine, afraid of the threat I pose. It's now clear that this primary is between you and me. Don't cowardly hide behind your proxies. Join the race directly. I agree with everything Tulsi Gabbard said, besides the last one. Let's not urge Hillary Clinton to get back into the presidential race, shall we? I think we've had enough. Let's go after her for these disgraceful smears, but leave her in the woods. We don't need Hillary Clinton running for the 15th time for president. Thank you, Jedi Mullet, 77, $5 in the super chat. Gary Johnson got 4 times the votes that Jill Stein, who I voted for, did. However, Big H keeps blaming Stein. Correct. And the data shows every single Jill Stein vote could have went to Hillary Clinton. She still would have lost. And granted, in fairness to Hillary Clinton, she won the popular vote. If we had a sane electoral system, if we got rid of the undemocratic electoral system, she would have won the presidency. Fair and square. But we don't have that system. So she lost. And Jill Stein had nothing to do with it. I'm a communist. $2 in the super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Michael S. $2 in the super chat. Cool topics. Keep it up. I'm trying. Primus 101. $20 in the super chat. Thank you for all the work you do. Thank you, and thank Jen and Joseph and Colin. They're working just as hard as me. So thank you for the super chats. Keep it coming there. Keep it coming in the GoFundMe. We are now at $78,184. I would love if there is if there's a kind, wonderful, humanitarian donor out there who's watching right now, either domestically or internationally. If you're not a scum, if you're not a Neanderthal, if you're not a degenerate, if there are no strings attached, oh man, what I would do to get to $79,000. We are less than $7,000 away from the ultimate prize, $85,000, which is going to help us get back in the field. As a reminder, you've seen this before, but I will show you again. We're not just talking about what we're going to do with your generous support. We're showing you. We got to actually add a few things because we've now been to Arizona and a couple other places since we made this graphic. So this is where we've been all over the country, thanks to your GoFundMe donations, thanks to your membership, all in a year and a half with no major donors, with no major investors, with none of that. Grassroots, regular viewers supporting us. And it makes a big, big difference, especially as YouTube continues to suppress the hell out of this channel. And Jen and I are talking about maybe sort of setting up a text alert system. I guess it's not hard to set up the system, but I guess implementing it is a little more difficult. But we do want to set up a text alert system and keep growing our email list because we can't depend on YouTube to notify people, not only when we're live, but when we post shorter videos. YouTube's not only not notifying you, but they're also not delivering videos to our subscribers' feeds, and they're also not recommending us to anybody and all those things that other channels are experiencing. So that is why, we're not growing as quickly as we should be. But we go on. We keep fighting. Thank you, Mike Thompson, $8 in the super chat. So what is so ridiculous about this, and again, we're going to interview Jill Stein tomorrow. I'm going to also reach out to Tulsi Gabbard's campaign if she wants to talk. What's so ridiculous about this is it continues to set up a default denialism for what's really going on in the country. So basically now, thanks to Hillary Clinton, John Podesta, the Democratic Party, Nancy, Chuck, all these people, now any time a real movement is brewing, any time a real movement, whether it's for healthcare, whether it's for the anti-war movement, whether it's the working class movement, whether it's Fight for 15, whatever it is, if the Democratic Party establishment, if the neoliberal order, if the military-industrial complex don't like it, you know how they deflect away from it? You know how they avoid talking about it? You know how their allies in the corporate media avoid talking about it or addressing it? You're a Russian asset. You might not know it, but you're a Russian asset. Quick, check her papers. Quick, do we need to start checking her phone logs? This is literally what happened in the 1950s in this country and some of the 60s. Remember, Bobby Kennedy, who Jen loves, and I love Bobby Kennedy, he was originally a big, big anti-communist, and he was very, very much on this McCarthyite thing. Now, you don't have to agree with Tulsi Gabbard on her views on Syria. You don't have to agree with her views on military engagements. You could think she's wrong on Syria and 25 other things. That's okay. I don't agree with you. I don't agree with Tulsi Gabbard on everything. But when did it become okay in this country, even in this corporate media environment, to just, with no facts, with no anything, to smear not only a sitting congressman, but what has Hillary Clinton fought for in her life? Tulsi Gabbard just got back from another reserve tour abroad. She has fought for this country in Iraq. You are smearing a veteran. You are smearing someone who has seen the consequences of the wars you, Hillary Clinton, have fought for us to go into. You are smearing somebody that is seeing the consequences and continues to see it with her veterans who continue committing suicide, who continue sitting on the other side, being misserved, and basically being left to fend for themselves by the VA. You are continuing to smear someone with no evidence of one of the most vile charges you could make. She's working with the other. You're basically accusing her of treason. I mean, it's so bad what Hillary Clinton is doing. Even Chuck Todd challenged, who did he challenge? I think he challenged Pete Buttigieg or somebody this morning. And some of you say, well, what do you think, Jordan? Why is Bernie being silent? Should Bernie stick up for Tulsi? You know what? I don't want to be a hypocrite here. I don't want to give Bernie a pass, but I also don't want to be too harsh on Bernie. I think Bernie Sanders should stick up for Tulsi Gabbard. However, he did just have a heart attack. He is trying to restart his campaign, and he could only do so many things at once, right? So should he stick up for Tulsi Gabbard while at the same time his campaign is trying to optically say, we're back, and focus on a major endorsement from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Michael Moore endorsing him, a major rally with the largest crowd of any candidate thus far? Should he step outside of those things, which require all of his campaign's focus and all of his focus, and now going to Iowa for a tour, because he does need to improve in Iowa in the polls? Should he then pick a fight on behalf of Tulsi Gabbard? I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to say for the first hour of the live stream, Bernie does things when it's not politically easy, when it's not politically expedient, and then say on the other side, oh no, I don't think you should pick this fight. But to tell you the truth, no, I don't think you should pick this fight. In a perfect world, would I like Bernie Sanders to stick up for Tulsi Gabbard? Yeah, I would. But I also want Bernie Sanders to win. And right or wrong, and obviously Bernie Sanders does not agree with Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders right now, if he made a big stink about Hillary Clinton, what she was saying about Tulsi Gabbard, and by the way, I mean, there's still a chance he might say something. Obviously, it's going to antagonize the very people he's trying to pick off. So, strategically, right now, I don't think this is a fight Bernie Sanders should fight. Frankly, I think, if we want to win, I'm not saying Bernie Sanders should sell his principles down the river. I'm not saying Bernie Sanders should not stick up for Tulsi Gabbard ever. But I got to be honest with you. I think he's got a lot to focus on right now. He is getting slaughtered by the entire corporate media apparatus. He's getting slaughtered by all of Wall Street, all of Big Pharma, all of Big Oil, all of Silicon Valley, all of big real estate, and the entire media. I think it's a lot for him to then pick a fight on behalf of Tulsi Gabbard. That's what I truly believe. So some of you might not like that, but that's what I believe. I don't think it's black or white. I would like to see him tweet out something. It doesn't need to be adversarial. I think it's simple to just say, Tulsi Gabbard has served this country admirably. She's been a great congresswoman, and I support her. I think that would be nice and simple, and I would love to see Bernie Sanders do that. But am I going to hammer him if he's not being strong enough? I know some people are. I'm not. If you think that makes me a hypocrite, sorry. But we'll see. Tomorrow we will have one of the other people being smeared, Jill Stein. So tune in for that, 5 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow, our normal time. I look forward to speaking with Jill Stein. And I really think we are entering a very, very dangerous area of American politics. We already have the endless propaganda coming out of NBC, MSNBC, CNN, the Washington Post, the New York Times. But when the concerted propaganda strategy is to deflect 100% from what the real topic is, which, why are we in Syria in the first place? Why are we helping Saudi Arabia maim and commit genocide in Yemen? Why are we trying to exert a coup in Venezuela and we're killing people with our sanctions? Economic sanctions kill. Tulsi Gabbard is to the left of Bernie Sanders. That is true. I wish Bernie was even further to the left, like Tulsi Gabbard is on foreign policy. But this message is why they are spearing her, because no one else has the guts to speak up against the military-industrial complex to that degree. Thank you, Andy P. $10 in the super chat. Status Quo is bringing the media revolution alongside Bernie's movement. Thank you, Jordan, Jen, and Co. So proud to be a member. So proud to have you as a member, Andy. And thank you so much for your donation. I know you've donated quite a lot. And also props to Joseph. Yesterday was his first rally covering Bernie. He was doing 7 things at once, which unfortunately, since we're understaffed, we don't have our own sound guy. We don't have our own. We only got one person, whereas other crews have way more than one person. So props to him for yesterday, and we got some other things coming up that he's going to be working on. So, yeah, somebody said Jordan, yes. Did I miss it? Yes, Jordan, just a short thing would do. Yeah, I'm not against a short thing. I'm just saying I don't think Bernie Sanders should make a huge production of this and go to war with Hillary and that. Like, he needs to focus on Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and California right now, in my view. So, quick break. I want to, if you've seen it, my apologies, but I want to replay, for those of you who haven't seen it, our recent promo video. Hopefully watching this promo video shows you the difference between the corporate propagandists at MSNBC and CNN and us who's in the field doing aggressive investigative reporting. How we grow is through you. Sign up as a member. Check it out. Oy vey, as my loving grandma used to say. Don't get me wrong. We have a corrupt president. Not exactly breaking news. Should he be impeached? Yeah, for about 25 things. But do you need me to tell you that? Do you need Status Quo to cover this wall to wall? I don't think so. But let me tell you something else that's very scandalous. The fact that Flint, Michigan still does not have clean water 5.5 years later. The fact that Newark, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, Cleveland, parts of Florida, parts of California, parts of Massachusetts, Detroit, and many other cities in America also have water problems. Another scandal. Black men continued to be executed by the police in the United Corporations of America. Another scandal. Another scandal. State parties all over the country, Democratic state parties, are screwing local progressive candidates, just like the DNC screwed Bernie Sanders in 2016. Another scandal. Fracking and these crude oil, natural gas, totally unnecessary, totally toxic pipelines are being built at a record rapid pace, and there are fighters on the ground getting no media coverage. So if you want 24/7 Trump, 24/7 impeachment, 24/7 Ukraine, 24/7 Russia, whatever other scandal of the day, not your guy. But if you want on the ground, in the field reporting of the actual, true, long-lasting, happening way before Trump's... do you think it would be helpful if I actually played the right video that I meant to play? Yes. Here we go.
In the coming week, the airwaves, well, they'll be swamped with the words impeachment inquiry.
The center of this new impeachment inquiry.
We call it an impeachment inquiry.
Before launching an impeachment inquiry,
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announces an impeachment inquiry.
The government whistleblower who set off the impeachment inquiry.
We really only have one topic to discuss.
Here's a live look at where the high-stakes hearing with the acting director of national intelligence.
What is in that whistleblower's complaint?
It is in the Constitution.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo subpoenaed for Ukraine documents.
These past 10 days in September may prove pivotal. Key moment in the impeachment battle.
What I think has shifted is sort of the moral implications inside the Democratic caucus.
Donald Trump will leave Congress, in my view, no choice but to initiate impeachment.
Oy vey, as my loving grandma used to say. Don't get me wrong. We have a corrupt president. Not exactly breaking news. Should he be impeached? Yeah, for about 25 things. But do you need me to tell you that? Do you need status quo to cover this wall to wall? I don't think so. But let me tell you something else that's very scandalous. The fact that Flint, Michigan still does not have clean water 5.5 years later. The fact that Newark, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, Cleveland, parts of Florida, parts of California, parts of Massachusetts, Detroit.
So the residents have had to bear this burden of the city screwing up, the state screwing up.
So this issue about water is a growing crisis in the Midwest, if you ask me.
And many other cities in America also have water problems. Another scandal. Black men continued to be executed by the police in the United Corporations of America.
So it's many inconsistencies that's in the situation. So we know, that it's plain out murder.
I understand or have some understanding of police culture, that they like to protect their own.
For years and decades, it's been an open season for black men.
After they dragged him for several feet, they put him back on the ground face down. And why would you do that when, this man's trying to breathe?
I can say this here, he was well loved. When they said ain't nobody care about you, that's wrong.
Another scandal. State parties all over the country, Democratic state parties, are screwing local progressive candidates, just like the DNC screwed Bernie Sanders in 2016.
With your point about nobody ever speaking up about it.
But you haven't, sir. I mean, you haven't publicly said anything. This has been in your office since November.
What about the family members of the people who have died? What about them? Who's going to stand up for them? What's going to happen here?
Another scandal. Fracking and these crude oil, natural gas, totally unnecessary, totally toxic pipelines are being built at a record rapid pace, and there are fighters on the ground getting no media coverage.
Since when is profit more important than water? When is profit more important than people?
So if you want 24/7 Trump, 24/7 impeachment, 24/7 Ukraine, 24/7 Russia, whatever other scandal of the day, not your guy. But if you want on the ground, in the field reporting of the actual, true, long-lasting, happening way before Trump scandals in America, become a member. Statusquo.com/join for as low as a cup of coffee a month. Statusquo.com/join. Help us build the media revolution. So that is our most recent promo video. Great job by Joseph, our cameraman, editor, producer now. And also, listen, I'm going to keep it real. We're obviously having some audio and technical problems. We're going to figure it out. Joseph is brand new. We're working with new equipment too, but we're going to get it ironed out. We're also going to start using a new program, because part of the reason we're having audio problems is because I'm using something called OBS, and I'm using it myself. So I am the one toggling back and forth. I believe the sign of a good political or a good political leader, as well as a good anything, know what you're good at and know what you're bad at. So I know what I'm good at, I know what I'm bad at, and leaving the tech to me is a recipe for disaster. It is a recipe for disaster. So, Joseph actually will be operating the live stream for the most part going forward. We're going to be using a different program than OBS, so just kind of hang with us. We're definitely going to work out the kinks as soon as we can. So thank you for sticking with us, and always a pleasure to roll those revolution for you. So the reason I showed you that promo video is we really are trying to actively grow our Status Quo membership. We just got a new person to sign up as a member, so we are now at 711 Status Quo members. Listen, I'm going to keep it real, folks. The GoFundMe is super important, but this is more important. Membership is how we grow for the long term. Membership is how we fund not only the equipment upgrades we need, but more help, more staff. We need to pay people. So sign up if you can for as low as $5 to $10 a month. It makes a huge difference. There are other outlets who ask you to become members or whatever, and ultimately, what do you get? You get a lot of Trump, a a lot of impeachment, a lot of the stuff you could see on MSNBC and CNN. If that's what you want to spend your money on, God bless, but we're not for that. We are doing something a little bit different, and that's actually going out across the country and speaking with people and speaking with the victims of the controlled demolition of the working class. We are speaking with the victims of environmental racism. We are speaking with the victims and their families of police brutality, of economic brutality. That's what we're doing. And once you see the story that Jen and I have, we were just out in a to be named later location in the country. We were just there for a week. We have got such a major story that right now we're talking to two major outlets. We're going to make a decision this week which outlet we want to go with about breaking that story. It's the biggest story I've ever personally worked on. I know Jen would probably say the same thing. It is a story that exposes a level of corruption that is not only criminal, but a level of corruption that was deadly. And we were able to be out on the road for a week and to fund the flights and the Airbnb and food and what we needed because of you. We also needed to get certain documents, which cost us money to pay for those documents, because even information these days don't come cheap. So we had to order transcripts and other things, which cost us money. Real reporting, from the flights to the Airbnb to the rent-a-car to the food, it costs money. But we're doing it because no one else is. And we're doing it because we want to expose the truth of the underlying rot, the underlying corruption in this country that has turned into the United Corporations of America. So we cannot wait to show you that story. We hope if any of these outlets say, we need a couple months, we're just going to end up doing it ourselves because we don't have a couple months to get this out. So that's the deal there. Before I end today, I want to give you a little update here. We're at $78,184. So unless a miracle happens, I don't see us getting to $79,000 today, but that's okay. We will fight another day to keep going. We just got another new Status Quo member. Welcome to the Media Revolution, Kyle. So we are now at 712. Count them, 712 Status Quo members, as low, and we're getting a lot of signups at $5 a pop. This is how we grow. And obviously we'd love everybody to sign up at as high amount you could get per month, but we're okay with $5 a month too, because every single member makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference at the recurring revenue coming in. It makes a huge difference when we try to get partnerships or sponsorships, or eventually when we do try and get potential investment and things like that, to show them, hey, we already have X amount of members. We already have X amount of revenue coming in. That's what people want to see to support us in a larger scale. And when I say support us at a larger scale, I'm not talking about the big banks. I'm not talking about ExxonMobil. I'm not talking about Pfizer. I'm not talking about Raytheon. I'm not talking about Facebook. We're only seeking funding from actual progressive sources that align with our values. And we walk the walk. You will know where our funding comes from, unlike others. So keep signing up as a member. It makes a huge difference. Obviously, if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. We don't want to make your situation any more challenging than it already is. But if you got $5 to $10 a month, we think real in the field journalism, it seems like it's a lost art. It's only a lost art because most of the outlets are either funded by plutocrats or funded by corporations, and they don't want people poking around and exposing the truth about capitalism, exposing the truth about a government that has been sold to the highest bidder. We are going to expose that truth, and I just can't wait to break this story for you. So we're at $78,184. So thank you for everybody who donated today. Thank you to all our new members. I think we've gotten 4 so far. Hopefully we get a couple more before the end of today. We will be back tomorrow again. If you missed it, we'll have an interview with Jill Stein that will air at 5 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. We will talk about the vicious smears against her, being a Russian asset and all this other nonsense. Also going to reach out to Tulsi Gabbard's campaign. I'd love to interview her on that. And I will be back if anything breaks before 5 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. Let me read a couple comments before I go in the super chat. Questions, comments, concerns, keep it going. Thanks for working with us through the audio problems today. I'm glad we figured it out. Let's see if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Really excited to see a lot of you yesterday. I probably spoke with a couple dozen of you. Thanks for coming up and saying hi and taking pictures and all that good stuff. I'm going to convert... Andy, somebody said I'm going to convert... I missed it. Okay. Somebody wants me to debate David Pakman. I don't really watch David Pakman. I know he's kind of comes across as a little neoliberal, dare I say. I guess I'd debate him. I don't care. I'd probably wipe the floor with him, but that's fine. I'm not really like into these Politicon debates because like they're all schmucks, all these Republicans and all these neoliberals. But I'd be happy to wipe the floor with them because none of these people, whether it's David Pakman, Ben Shapiro, any of these people, they never leave their lavish studio to actually go out in the country and find out what the fuck is happening. Ooh, demonetized at the end of the live stream. Swear jar. None of them have any earthly idea what's actually happening on the ground in America. They live in their little bubble, they live in their little studio, and they give little hot takes. So I'd love to wipe the floor with any of them. Debate Jimmy Dore over Bernie first Tulsi. Is Jimmy supporting Tulsi over Bernie? I didn't even know that. I guess I would debate Jimmy. I love Jimmy. Haven't talked to him in a while, but I love Jimmy. I would debate Jimmy. Let's see. Get her hooked on the live chat. LOL. Hashtag swear jar. NB Doughboy. Did you interview AOC, Jordan? I did not. I think she spoke with The Intercept, but I was not lucky enough to interview AOC. Hopefully down the line I will. Debate Jimmy Dore on who's better, Bernie or Tulsi? I'd love to. I think they both bring a lot to the table, but to me, it's Bernie. I don't know. I don't know what Jimmy's issue with Bernie is these days. We can't expect the politicians we support to do every single thing we want. We can't expect them to be perfect. We have to understand that sometimes they're going to make some form of political calculations. To me, it's just the degree. I'm not naive. Bernie's obviously going to have to make political calculations at times, decide whether certain hills are worth dying on. I think, I'm not talking about Jimmy, but I think some people want our politicians, whether it's Bernie or anyone else, to basically just be us and do exactly what we would do, and that's not reality. So that's what I believe. Get Jordan on Rising. I was actually supposed to be on Rising a few weeks ago, and they canceled on me. I was kind of disappointed. I was supposed to go on about the Working Families Party story we did as far as Elizabeth Warren's daughters having connections to that endorsement that the Working Families Party did for Elizabeth Warren, but they canceled and didn't reschedule, so I don't know what was up with that, but I'm really enjoying watching it. I love Crystal Ball. I think her partner's really good too, so I'd love to go on with Rising anytime they want. And I think once we break this story that we're teasing, I'm pretty sure we're going to be invited on a couple programs. I'll leave it at that. And by the way, for Status Coup members, statuscoup.com/join. Before we break this story, you will know, before anyone else, we will give you significant hints what the story is about. We're just trying to avoid getting killed before the story gets out. But for our Status Coup members, that's statuscoup.com/join, we will give you a preview and major hints at what the story is about for our members. And you might say, Jordan, that's not fair. Well, too bad. We got to grow, and we got to sign up more members. Our goal for the end of this year is 1,000 members. Right now, we are at 700, and let me make sure I have it right here. 712 members, so we got some work to do. I'm also gonna might be TMI, Jen might be mad at me for saying this, but I'm also gonna send out an email because we have a lot of expired members. What that means is members that either their cards got declined or whatever, maybe at one point they had to cancel because things got tough or whatever. And generally speaking, we don't want to reach out and, kind of come off like we're hassling you or whatever. But I know for me, there have been times where for whatever reason I had to change my credit card, or a credit card was, I had to file a fraud charge or whatever, and things get declined because I'm not using that credit card anymore. So we're going to do a little, reach out, I guess you could say, to folks that their cards have declined or they're not members anymore, and just say, hey, we love you. Here's an update on what we're working on. We'd love to have you back as a member whenever you're ready, because I would venture to guess, to be honest with you, there's a whole lot of people out there, whether members or patrons, that might not even know they're not members or patrons anymore. They might not realize that their card was getting declined. So hopefully for those of you, you might not know that you're not a member anymore, and we definitely want you to be a member because that's how we grow. Jedi Mullet 77, $5 in the super chat. Please interview David Bloom, author of Alcohol Can Be a Gas. He's a permaculturalist. He runs Whiskey Hill Farms in Watsonville, California. Hey, Jen, could you write that down? Could you write that down so we don't forget to reach out to him? Date Mike, $2. Damn, Jordan, throwing that shade at Pacman. Honestly, Date Mike, and Jen could attest to this. I barely have time to watch any other shows. So debate Nico House on what Tulsi's butt smells like. I'm not going to comment on Nico House, but that's funny. I lost my train of thought because you made me laugh. I don't watch David Pacman, but the few clips I've seen, it's like the Young Turks. It's like an edgier version of MSNBC. It's all Trump, 24/7. He's, he thinks he's pragmatic by siding with a lot of neoliberal shit, and I don't think that's pragmatic. You know what I think's pragmatic? Actually proposing things that have majority support in America, and then working to get the people that support those policies out to the voting booth. That's pragmatic. So I'd be happy. I don't have anything against David Pacman. I don't really know him. But I would debate him. I would also debate, let me think. Jen, who should we debate? Jordan said he doesn't listen to Pacman, but he seems neoliberal. How can he make that assumption if he doesn't listen to him? I said I don't listen to him regularly. I did see a clip he did on Jimmy Dore last year that I thought was ridiculous. I also saw a clip he did on Warren, I think it was, versus Bernie, and he was using MSNBC talking points. So what I meant, if you didn't understand, was I don't watch him regularly, but I have seen some of his stuff. LDW Dubu, $15 in the super chat. How do you handle people who are so demoralized and negative they think things will never change? I know so many people like this. That's a great question. If I had the answer, maybe I would be doing something else. I think all we could do at Status Quo and as journalists is give people a microphone that don't normally have it. So we're going to be airing more interviews this week that we shot yesterday. Our goal is not necessarily, I mean, of course, I would have loved an interview with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, don't get me wrong, but our goal is to interview as many working people that you'll never see on CNN or MSNBC, that you'll never see quoted in the New York Times, and to actually show what real people deal with, what real people think, how they feel, what their struggles are, what their backgrounds are, what their life stories are. Because that's how you influence people that aren't already on your side, by them seeing that no, it's, putting a face to progressive politics, putting a face to the struggle, putting a face to the corruption, whether it's, in terms of investigative reporting we're working on. So, honestly, I think it's a hard thing to answer because there are a lot of people. One of capitalism's goal, one of the oligarchy's goal is to exhaust the hell out of people and demoralize the hell out of people to the point that they just don't fight. And they don't want to fight, and they don't think there's anything that them fighting could actually accomplish. That's why I think people like Bernie are so important, people like AOC is so important, because that's where they want you. They want you to feel defeated. They want you to feel like it's a lost cause. They want you to feel like it's all for naught and all for nothing. And just when they get you there, that's when they win. So how do we change that? We're a journalistic outfit. So what we do is try to wake more people up to what is going on. That's what we do. Let's see. Jesus, you're kind of judgmental. I am? Okay. I don't know what I said that was judgmental, but that's fine. Kush Renata, $2 in the super chat. Love Tulsi's message against Clinton. Go get her, TG. I did too. I think Hillary Clinton's disgraceful. I really do. Joe, let's see. What else? Play Tulsi's new message on Twitter. There's another one? Hold on. Oh, there's another one. Let's take a look.
People warned me in 2016 that my endorsement. People warned me in 2016 that my endorsement of Bernie Sanders would be the end of my quote-unquote political career. They said Clinton will never forget that she and her rich and powerful friends, her allies in politics and in the media, will make sure that you are destroyed. Well, there have been countless hit pieces full of smears against me from day one of this campaign. They've tried to destroy my reputation and my lifetime of service because I stood up to them. I've spent over 16 years of my life proudly serving in the Army National Guard. I still serve as a major today. I volunteered to deploy to the Middle East twice. I've served in Congress now for nearly 7 years, serving on the Foreign Affairs Committee, the Armed Services Committee, the Homeland Security Committee, and I am not afraid to openly express my love for our country. But if they can falsely portray me as a traitor, then they can do it to anyone. And in fact, that's exactly the message that they want to get across to you. That if you stand up against Hillary and the party power brokers, if you stand up to the rich and powerful elite and the war machine, they will destroy you and discredit your message. But here is the truth. They will not intimidate us. They will not silence us. We are not here just to protest their corruption. I am running for president to take the Democratic Party and our country back from the corrupt elite. I'm running for president to bring about a new Democratic Party and new leadership that will fight for peace, fight for the people, and protect our planet. So I want to ask every single one of you to join me in speaking truth to power. Don't be afraid. Let's root out the corruption in our party and our country. Join me to end the war machine's stranglehold over our leaders and ensure that our government is truly of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Your wish is my command, whoever mentioned to play that video. I think that's a great video by Tulsi Gabbard. And to tell you the truth, to tell you that Jordan should go on Chapo, here's my list of where I'd like to go. Number one, I'd like to go on Joe Rogan. If you want to start the campaign, hashtag Joe Jordan or Jordan on Joe. Would love to go on Joe Rogan and get in front of that audience because I think he's got a wide audience, not just progressives, not just conservatives, everybody, and expose more people to the coup and expand the coup immunity. Credit to my girlfriend who came up with that, the coup immunity. So I'd love to go on Joe Rogan. I would also love to go on Chapo Trap House, so that would be amazing. I like that podcast a lot. Would love to go on Matt Taibbi and Katie Halper's new podcast. I'm pretty sure Matt and me talked a while ago about me going on when I have another story. So look forward to that. I'd pretty much go on anywhere other than, lunatic conspiracy theories, right-wingers, or, corporate neoliberal hack. But I would go on anywhere because I think part of the reason we're kind of treading water is because most people don't know status quo exists. You'd be really, really surprised. A lot of people still don't know that status quo, what it is, that we're on YouTube, that we exist, because YouTube is doing such a bang-up job of suppressing this channel and others. God bless Jimmy Dore, Kyle Kalinske, Mike from the Humanist Report, all these other channels. I love them, but the truth is, their growth happened before YouTube suppression was a thing. Their growth happened before demonetization became such a rabid thing. So they had the benefit of a timeline when YouTube was still YouTube and suppression. So it's not that suppression doesn't affect them now, but they already had grown to such a large subscriber base that they could still do fairly well. We started status quo in the post-suppression era, in the suppression era, in the demonetization era, in the never notify anyone era. So we have a little bit more of an uphill climb because we are basically existing with one hand tied behind our back to grow. So we would accept all. See, I found out status quo because of Jimmy Dore. Dr. R said that, and why I'm reading that. Every time I've been on Jimmy's show, we get a pretty significant uptick in subscriber growth, and then the comments come in and say, Jordan, I didn't know you're back. Mind you, we've been back for a year and a half. So it truly is, people don't see status quo in their feeds. People don't see, they don't get our videos recommended to them. They don't. So somebody had mentioned earlier, David had mentioned this. Status quo and Kim Iverson find out the secret. Oh, it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. I could get myself in a lot of trouble here. Let's just say I don't think everything's on the up and up with that channel's growth. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to start a war. I don't know Kim Iverson, God bless her, but usually you don't have that kind of rapid growth so quick. Organically, I guess I could say. Usually you don't have that kind of rapid growth organically that quick. So I'll leave it at that. David. Jen, don't get Jen started on that topic. But that's not normal growth on YouTube, organically speaking. You could grow on YouTube other ways that are not organic, which are, I guess, the opposite of organic would be not natural growth, purchased in some ways. I don't have any evidence of that, so I'm not trying to smear the person, but as somebody who knows YouTube very well and knows about growth, and somebody who grew a very, very successful YouTube channel at the Young Turk quickly, it's not normal growth. The Hill, for example, thehill.com, Crystal and, I'm sorry if I mispronounce her partner's name, Sajar? I'm not trying to be a dick. I just don't know how to pronounce his name. But their growth that's so rapid makes sense to me because they are with thehill.com. So, of course, YouTube favors corporate outlets to begin with. But, yes, become a member, Michael said. Become a member and ask me about Kim Iverson's growth on this month's member call. I will tell you what I really think. But The Hill's quick growth makes sense because, number one, YouTube's algorithm favors corporate outlets, which The Hill is a corporate outlet. I'm shocked that The Hill's letting them actually do that show and speak progressive truth. We'll see how long that lasts, but I love Crystal. But also, they get to post their videos on The Hill's website. And The Hill is a pretty well-known website that has a lot of traffic. So they're getting those YouTube videos in stories on The Hill. So that helps significantly with their traffic. I wish we had something like that. So The Hill's growth makes a lot of sense to me. Sagar. But other channels that were mentioned, their growth, based on what I know about YouTube and Jen knows about YouTube, not organic. I'll leave it at that. But become a member, and maybe I'll elaborate. And we got another new member. We are now at 713. Welcome to the Media Revolution, Nicole. Can we get 7 more members to get back up to 720? We were at 720 before Jen and I hit the road for a week. Then we had a bunch of card declines and whatever. So I'd love to get back to 720. I know there's 7 of you that have $5 to $10 a month. Sign on to the bottom line, statusquo.com/join. This is fun. I'm going to go a little bit longer. And answer questions, comments, concerns. And let's see, did we get any GoFundMe love? Okay, still at the same on GoFundMe, $78,184. Jen, I'm trying not to get myself in trouble here. So I'm leaving it at that. I don't want to get in trouble. Get in trouble. So, I delight in this expose. Oh my God, if you get Jen on the topic of that particular channel, forget it. She'll go on for 3 days. Iverson is a total conspiracy theorist. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I also I think I got into it with her a couple of weeks ago on Twitter because she was saying I don't remember, it was a couple weeks ago, but was saying like racism isn't a real issue in America, or racism isn't a major political issue. And like, I just think that's such an astoundingly ignorant thing to say. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember what she was saying. Jen, if you remember what she was saying, but I have a problem with like, you know, white people on YouTube saying racism isn't as big of a deal as people make it out to be. Because I could tell you, as somebody who goes out and predominantly, disproportionately covers stories that affect minority and vulnerable communities, racism is a big fucking thing, and it's a major factor in politics, and particularly what Bernie talks about, which is this, in the income inequality, within that is the racial disparity and the economic terrorism being perpetrated on Black, brown, and indigenous communities. So, yes. Ingray, Jurgen Borg, Jordan, why is every bad thing Bernie does, I do love him, but worthy of criticism, swept under the rug, while every single mistake Tulsi does hyper-focused? Give me more. What is the bad things Bernie does you think that are being swept under the rug? I'm not defending him. I just don't know, like, specifically which are the bad things you think are being swept under the rug. And what is Tulsi doing that you think are being hyper-focused on? Because I'm with Tulsi on this thing against Hillary Clinton. I'm not knocking her. I think she's right. So give me a little bit more. Which Bernie things do you think are being swept under the rug? Albert Hood, status quo. Could you state where there is a video of you leaving TYT amicably? I don't. That video doesn't exist because I didn't leave TYT amicably. They fired me. Just keeping it real. So I don't know. I don't know what video you're talking about. I'm just keeping it real. I did a video to start this channel where I, commented on my exit from TYT and said I appreciate the opportunity I got with them and the support as far as sending me around the country and the financial support they gave me. Obviously, I don't like how things ended, and I have certain opinions on the Young Turks that I'm not going to spend the rest of my life dwelling on. I've moved forward. But I think TYT, if people want to watch TYT, God bless you. For those that don't, God bless you too. But let's just say TYT is no longer the network that I used to love and that I was so proud to join. They are not that anymore. Certainly not that anymore. So, but as far as amicably a video, I don't know what video you're talking about because, I didn't do a video of bashing them, but they did fire me. I don't hide that. So, get on Redacted. Yes, I would love to. Let's see. What's the current status of Flint? I heard Will Smith. Oh, God, these comments are going so quickly. What's the current status of Flint? Oh. So, what can I say? I'll say this. The story that Jen and I were on the road for over a week, that story will shed light on the status of Flint and the water crisis. So that's all I'm telling you. The story that we are going to break will shed some major light on the status of Flint. Because unlike others in the media, I don't believe in taking the cameras away from a major environmental or just straight up scandal. I don't believe in just 2 years later or 3 years later or 5 years later just dropping a story. I believe you stick with a story until you expose the truth, and you keep fighting to expose the truth. So to answer you, you will have some information, and Jen's already mad at me that I said that much, but I don't think that gives anything away, Jen. I'm just saying, you will know the status of Flint in due time. I'll leave it at that. David F. I started something. Oops. What did you start? Just being honest. Jay Stone, try for just a moment to not look at it as a Bernie Sanders phone. Bernie has very loyal support, but he needs a lot of help from his own party and independents. Do you deny they will conceivably? Are you calling me Jay Stone, or is that somebody else? Kyle's interview with Bernie Sanders is pretty good. I got to be honest with you. Not throwing shade at Kyle, but I'm getting a little annoyed that I can't get an interview with Bernie Sanders, and maybe slightly jelly. Code for jealous. I mean, I've been covering this man for 4 years. Can I get 3 minutes with the man? I can't even get an interview with Fez, his campaign manager. I'm just keeping it real. I mean, I don't. Maybe sometimes I'm critical of Bernie and they don't like that, but like, I think at this point, Status Quo should get an interview with Bernie Sanders. We don't have the audience TYT has or Secular Talk has, but we do have a pretty significant progressive audience. So I would love to get an interview with Bernie, and I did listen to Kyle's interview with him, which I thought was great. Catherine Svabata, I am so glad Jordan is talking about a lot of issues and not just one thing. That is what I'm enjoying about this live chat. I am enjoying talking about a lot of issues, and I think that's what separates Status Quo from others. You know, other channels, I'm not throwing shade at them, but it's just reality, tend to focus on things they know will click well, that will get a lot of clicks, grow their channel quicker. I mean, if we wanted to grow Status Quo quicker, we would just do 25 stories a day on Trump and do clickbait. I mean, it's not rocket science how to grow a YouTube channel. It's sticking with stories like Trump. But we choose to cover Flint and Newark and pipeline fights and other things that don't go super viral. And YouTube's algorithm doesn't favor, because we believe it's super, super important to focus on all the stories going on that aren't getting covered in this 24/7 Trump media industrial complex. I think that's what separates Status Quo from other outlets, if that is what you're talking about. Let's see, did we get any more members? Okay, still at 713 members. Let's see, can we get 7 more people? We're at 713 Status Quo members. Can we get 7 new members by the end of this live stream? I'm going to keep talking and taking your questions. And Jen's texting me and yelling me for saying too much. I know. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said it more, but what are you going to do? I can't help myself. Found Rising, thanks to Jordan and Kyle. Watch it all the time. Thank you, Chris Wynn. DC, Kim Iverson isn't a white person. What the F is wrong with you? She's not a white person? What is she? Am I missing something? I don't really care what she is. Her comments on racism were ridiculous. So I don't know what you're talking about. But if you've seen her comments on like racism not being a major issue and people overstating racism, I don't really care if she's glow in the dark. Those comments are very ignorant. I'm just being honest with you. America is the least racist country in the world. Kim Iverson deleted the tweet. Correct. So I don't know what your point is, that she's not white or she is white. I don't care what she is. She makes ignorant comments that are not informed by anything. And when Kim Iverson sees what I've seen, when Kim Iverson visits as many states and cities as I've visited, when Kim Iverson goes to the frontline communities that I go to, then she can make those comments. I love Aaron Mate and Max Blumenthal on Gray Zone. Now there is some real reporting, in my opinion. I love Gray Zone. I have Ben Norton on as much as humanly possible. I think he's great. She's part Asian. Let's not get into like a fight about Kim Iverson. I don't want to get bogged down in that. Jordan, Bernie needs to tell the healthcare stories, not spout the status quo. I actually agree with that. I have talked for a while that I think Bernie Sanders' campaign misses a lot of opportunities, because look how many stories are in each crowd you have. Bring up people on stage. You remember how Trump used to have people come on stage and like pull his hair? Why don't we have people come on stage and show their struggle? Put a face to the stats Bernie's talking about. I think that's a great idea, David. Let's see. Jimmy Dore quit TYT. Not sure that was amicable either. I'm not going into that. I think it's funny that a guy like Jordan, who got fired for corruption from his last job, is taken seriously. Did I get fired for corruption? Is that what happened? Interesting. Because I'm not going to get into those details, but last time I checked, there was a lot of stuff put out about me with no actual facts behind it. Just saying. Bernie could be more on the total drug to cream train, I think. His pro-cannabis stance is good, but it needs to go further. He's on the right track, though, just a little slow in my opinion, maybe after he's elected. Oh, I think if Bernie Sanders is president, you're going to see a total decriminalization of marijuana fairly quickly. I don't think it's like one of the major issues he talks about, but that is in his racial and criminal justice reform plan, is decriminalizing marijuana. Zach Campbell, can you guys get Max Blumenthal on Status Quo for an interview? I think that'd be a good show. Yeah, I don't see why not. I like Max. I could reach out to Max. Jen, if you don't mind writing that down. G, $22. TYT Liz support. Please help give insight on why. I wish I could tell you. I don't know what TYT is thinking these days. I know what I'm seeing, but I don't know why they do what they do, and I'm not interested in, psychoanalyzing Jank or TYT. So let's see. Thank you for the super chat. Jordan can't talk about much surrounding TYT, but I could tell you that they are garbage. Jen wrote, yes. Unfortunately, certain things I can't go into regarding TYT, although I would love to. I'll leave it at that. My hands are tied in certain areas, if you know what I mean. But on other areas, I could honestly say they're not the network they were when I joined. And I think their 24/7 Trump focus is a disservice to the progressive community. It's also a disservice to the real stories going out. They made their decision, whatever. They fired me, that's fine. But they have way more resources than I do, and Status Quo does. I wish they would do more reporting on things like Flint. I wish they would send reporters out or hire reporters to go out and cover the stories that I used to cover there, because I think a lot of their audience valued that. And they have a huge microphone, and they could be covering those downtrodden communities. They could be covering those forgotten communities in a progressive way, and they choose instead to cover Trump 24/7. I'm not saying Trump is not worthy of coverage, but there's a thing called proportion, and I think that's where they've kind of lost me. So, you were always too pure for them, but I'm glad you started your career there and can see how you wanted to do things your own way. Correct. Edwin, that was some tough times, Jordan, but I always stick with you. Tell me about it. We're coming on actually, we're almost in November, so we're coming on 2 years since my departure there. So thank you for sticking with me, Edwin, and a lot of you other folks have stuck with me from TYT and believe in me and Status Quo, so we really appreciate it. Henry, I'm very choosy when it comes to which TYT videos I watch. Hey, my thing is watch whatever you want. Most of you are smart enough to smell bullshit a mile away, so watch TYT if you want to. Watch whoever you want to. My thing is always hold whoever you're watching, including me, accountable. So if outlets are making accusations, either against politicians, against others, if they have no facts with those accusations, if they don't present any facts, if they just lob nuclear bullets, nuclear missiles, like Hillary Clinton's lobbying at Hillary Clinton's lobbying at Tulsi Gabbard, calling her an asset, ask them, do you have any supporting evidence? Because I think too many times stuff's put out there and there's no evidence. And then you need to start asking, well, this is convenient that they're saying this. So that's all I'm saying. Hold the people you're watching accountable to make sure they're factually correct and make sure they're bringing their facts with integrity. YouTube is pushing TYT. I'm getting notifications after unsubscribing. Doesn't surprise me. Jordan, get Max Blumenthal on the show. Yes, somebody else said that. We will work on that for sure. TYT did us a favor. Now we have a Status Quo. I agree. I don't really want to get into a full-blown TYT conversation. Nina for vice president. Well, I did ask Nina if she would take vice president. She dodged, which I expect her to dodge at this point. But I think Nina Turner would be an amazing vice president. And I think Nina Turner would inspire so many people that maybe don't vote, particularly in African-American communities, to vote. I think she'd make an amazing vice president. I suspect that's why Jordan is likely not fond of Cedar, just because of that. Because of what? And how do you know I'm not fond of Sam Cedar? Did his name even come up today? I mean, I don't watch Sam Cedar, but I don't have anything against him. I think Sam Cedar, David Pakman's are, they're progressive on some things, but they're also conventional wisdom and pragmatic on other things. So they're not my cup of tea, but I don't have anything against Sam Cedar. And I like, I was going to say, I like Jimmy, who's still at TYT, but he's not at TYT. Get on status quo now, Bernie. I agree. I'm not going to read that comment, but great comment by Jen. TYT, I'm not going to read that. Jordan, did you cover the Ashley Preston thing? I forgot. TYT only recently disclosed she was a Warren surrogate, turned Bernie segments to Warren, and her toxic past tweets. Phew! No, I didn't cover that. I got to be honest with you. In fairness, if something happened with Bernie Sanders where one of his surrogates, like racist comments came out from the past or insensitive comments came out from the past, I would say, like, are we really going to hold Bernie Sanders accountable for this? So, like, I'll go after Elizabeth Warren on policy, but I don't really think it's fair to, like, hang a surrogate Elizabeth Warren has over her. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're vetting a vice presidential candidate here when you're vetting, like, surrogates to go on TV and say nice things about you. Are we really going to expect Bernie Sanders to know the full history of all of his supporters' tweets? I have to give that same benefit of the doubt to Elizabeth Warren. To be honest with you, I don't know if Elizabeth Warren came out and made a statement on this Ashley and her insensitive racist comments for the past. So if she didn't do that, that's an issue. She should have. But I can't, if I'm being fair, I can't, like, knock Elizabeth Warren down because of something a supporter of hers tweeted. That's, we gotta be consistent. So I'm not gonna go after Elizabeth Warren for that. Captain Waffles, $5. I like that name. Get Max Blumenthal on the show. Get Aaron Mate on the show. Join forces with the Gray Zone to become the penultimate Gray status zone coup. I think we need to work on the branding a little bit of the name. But I've had Aaron Mate on several times. I've had Ben Norton on several times. I will have Max Blumenthal on. I love the Gray Zone. I would love to do some things with them. I think they do a lot of what we do on the foreign policy side and regime change side and illegal wars side, where we do a lot of that rough rabble rousing on the domestic side. So I think they're great. Jordan, I wish you had gotten Michael Moore at the rally. So do I. We're working on it. We're working on these things. We don't, we got to grow. We got to grow for sure. Growing is how we're also going to get some of these bigger names. So keep it coming. Also, how we're going to get some of these bigger names is the more members we have. And I think we just got another membership sign up. Let's see. Yes, we just got another new member. So we're now at 714. Welcome, new member Kevin. 714 members. Do I need to keep talking for 17 hours until we get 6 more members? We're now at 714 members. I want 6 more. 6 more of you to sign on the bottom line. I'll keep it going for a little bit longer. Also, we got the GoFundMe going, so keep it coming there. Thank you, Charles. Just dropped $10 in the GoFundMe. We are now at $78,194. So a little over $800 to go to hit that $79,000 mark. What other comments shall we say? Jen is unleashed now. She's talking smack in the super chat. Let's see. I do agree. Is mess TYT? Yeah, forget TYT. I don't want to talk about them anymore. They did what they did, and I am. Let me tell you something. Jen can attest. I am a lot happier at the coup. I am a lot happier at the coup than I ever was at TYT. Puppet Image, status quo, saying Jordan was having sex in hotels made him seem like an old school journalist. Don't you start. Yes, I am an adult. I do occasionally do adult activities. I don't know what that means as far as an old school journalist, but I'll take it as a compliment. I've seen people throw their firstborn under the bus, let alone for $20 million. Jules T says, dang, Jen is on fire today. A nerve has been hit. Oh, yes. And by the way, if you knew, okay, Jen dies. She stood with me and for me when you don't even know half of the missiles that were being thrown my way at the end of 2017, early 2018. I'm not saying I was under fire as much as Bernie is, but I had way more bullets coming at me, figuratively speaking, than you know, from a lot of forces that you actually think are progressive. But if I told you some of the shady things that were being done and some of the lies that were being put out there about me, Jen knows what I'm talking about, from a lot of institutions that you actually think are progressive. I wish I could talk about it, but I'm not actually legally allowed to talk about it. But needless to say, not all is as it seems. I'll leave it at that. Do I have to Dave Rubin you debate Sam Cedar? What do you want me to debate Sam Cedar on? I'm not trying to dodge debate. I just I don't have anything against Sam Cedar. He's just not my cup of tea. I think Sam Cedar. See, the problem is there's certainly a place for commentary. But I think a lot of these commentary people, like Sam Cedar, David Pakman, even people at TYT, are out of touch with the very base that they say they represent. They don't go out in the field. You don't need to be an investigative reporter, but they don't go to the communities I've been in Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, other states, and see the wreckage. So they're kind of out of touch with how severe the misery is out there. And I think that out of touchness informs their political views of pragmatism. I'm not out of touch because I make sure to stay in touch and make sure I go out in the field as much as humanly possible, as much as we could fund. Statusquo.com/join, become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Shameless plug there. So I think that's the difference. And I think whether it's Sam Cedar, David Pakman, some others, I don't think they're bad dudes. I don't know anything about them, and I don't think they're bad guys. But I think a lot of people, if you don't go to Flint, you don't know how bad it is. If you don't go to Detroit, you don't know how bad it is. If you don't go to the places that I've been at TYT and Status Quo, you don't really understand that the pragmatism that you're talking about is part of the reason that we have such misery and suffering. So that's where I stand. Has Jordan been on the Michael Brooks show? I have not. Be happy to go on, though. I don't think Jordan needs to debate. That's great for Kyle. Jordan is great at interviewing people. Thank you. Appreciate that. No field journalist. I agree. Jeff, answer the phone. Are you calling me, Jeff? Yeah, I'm not listen, I'm not knocking Kyle or anybody else. All good, debate people. But my whole thing is I got bigger fish to fry than Ben Shapiro and David Pakman. That's not my interest area. My interest area is putting some fuckers in jail. My interest area is exposing criminal corporatists, exposing criminal politicians, and getting some truth out there. And I look forward to Jen and I publishing this story. Status Quo is the only news outlet I donate to. Lots of reason for that. Thank you, Henry. We really appreciate your support. Dante Edmundo, nice to see the positive difference of Jordan today versus 2 years ago. He weathered quite a storm, and he's right about TYT, no longer what it was. I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind comment. I'm not going to lie to you. I try not to dwell on it, but 2 years ago was not a good time for me. Jen saw me at my darkest. I probably grew like a Tom Hanks castaway beard in November, December of 2017. I was very much depressed. It's very difficult when you work for a decade to rise and develop a career and do the thing you love, and then for it be 3 or 4 days, it just ripped away from you over vicious lies. I mean, there's no other way to say it. There were just vicious lies put out there about me that, thank God, when people looked, the majority of people saw they were lies. So it was a really dark time because, for me, a big part of my identity is the work. I don't view this as a job. I view this as my purpose. Everybody has hobbies. Everybody has things that they're passionate about. To me, giving a voice to people, to me, in trying to deliver any ounce of justice I can for the people of Flint, the people at Standing Rock, people that are being just destroyed by this endless, corrupt United Corporations of America. That's a huge part of who I am. And when that was ripped away based on lies, I'm only human. It really destroyed me for a hot minute. But, you know, as they say, times of turmoil also show you who you are. And I think, in a weird way, like everything that happened led me to this. And I wouldn't change it because I'm so happy to have status quo. I don't think, I just don't think, you know, my time at the Young Turks, it was definitely positive for the most part. And I got to do a lot of great things. But, you know, I just don't think my vision was the same as their vision as far as the in-the-field reporting went. Even before I left, there was some friction as far as them not wanting to send me as much to certain places and, you know, wanting me to cover Trump more and that kind of stuff. So I just don't think I would have been able to execute the vision of what I believe needs to be done staying there or, frankly, anywhere else. I mean, sometimes if you have a strong vision, you just got to do it yourself. So that's what we're doing here. Let's see. That's why we love you, Jordan. Keep it up. Thank you, Light Weaver. Do you see yourself ever... Somebody asked, do you see yourself running for office? No. No interest in running for office. Jordan, please don't get suicided with 2 gunshots to the back of your head. We need you out there. Chris, working my best. Jen and I took every single proper security measure to make sure when we were out there last week, nobody knew where we were. Nobody knew what we were working on. So we're trying our best to stay safe out there. As status quo grows, we definitely, you know, are going to have to maybe take some extra measures, maybe hire some more staff to make sure we're protected. Because, you know, the more you knock on doors, the more you poke at the bear of the United Corporations of America and the criminal corporatists, the more people want to make you disappear. So we'll definitely have to keep that going. Let's keep it coming. We still have a big audience 4 hours into this thing. I would like to get 6 more people to sign up as members. We are now at 714 status quo members. So if you're not a member and you're on the fence, you can become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month or $179 annually. I think we're actually going to do our membership call this coming week. We have a monthly call with our members, so I think it's going to be this week because the following week I am going to Mexico. I'm going to Mexico for my younger brother's bachelor party. Bunch of white pale Jews going to Mexico. That should work out. So I'm going to Mexico for my brother's bachelor party. So looking forward to that. So this week we'll announce a date tomorrow. We're going to do our members call. So if you're not a member, sign up, become a member, join our call. It's a video call. Always a good time. I think we had 40 to 50 of you last time. Keeps growing. Every month we do it. Also, thank you, John Coin, $50 in the GoFundMe. So we are now at $78,224. Keep it coming. Oh, look at that green bar getting so close to the end of this GoFundMe. All right, I'm going to close in a few minutes. So let me read a couple more comments. Jordan, misery is everywhere. If you want misery, I will be more than happy to show you in Oakland, Hayward, Castro Valley, Fremont, districts represented by neoliberals like Barbara Lee, Police, Swalwell. Yep, I know. We've seen it. We see it all the time. We're trying our best. That's why we want to grow status quo. We want to hire other reporters so we could report on as many stories as humanly possible. So sign up as a member for $5 to $10 a month. We're not talking about what we're going to do. We show you what we're going to do. Remember, we've been all over the country with very limited funding. And we got to add some more because we've been to a few other places that aren't on that map yet. So we're not telling you what we're going to do and then like doing something different and covering Trump 24/7. We're showing you what we're going to do. Sign up, statusquo.com/join. Hey, read my super chat. Did I miss your super chat, Skullwick? Hold on, trying to find your super chat. Why do I see no super chat? Oh, here we go. Make Return of the Burn shirts. Thanks for the super chat, $2. We're not going to do that because we are a journalistic outlet, so we're not going to be like making shirts for Bernie Sanders because we're not like Bernie bros. But I would buy a shirt personally. Return of the Burn. Another worldview is possible. Dore is regarded as pretty toxic, but does the Sanders campaign really want to deal with Dore ambushing Sanders with a Seth Rich question? I don't know if that's necessarily fair. I don't think Jimmy's toxic. I think Jimmy is very, very opinionated. He has strong views. He is a warrior for the working class. As far as I know, he tweeted about or asked a question about Seth Rich. I don't know why that makes you a conspiracy theorist. Like saying, oh, maybe this should be looked into is not the same thing as like being a Fox News, InfoWars conspiracy theorist. So, yeah. Try to interview Michael Moore on his long-term support for Bernie Sanders. Catherine, do you know how many times I have reached out to Michael Moore and his people? Not even for an interview, just to get him to retweet something on Flint. He is not an easy person to get. Not an easy person to get at all. But we'll try. I'll reach out, for sure. For sure. Jay Stone, you're a Bernie bro dude, embrace it. I always am clear I am personally a Bernie Sanders supporter, but that's different than using your journalistic outlet to fundraise or like get Bernie Sanders elected. That's where we draw the line. Like we're not like, there are some outlets that are very much like Tulsi bros. We're not going to make shirts for a candidate. That's just not journalistically, ethically. What happened to Ty? Oh, I keep having to explain it over and over and over. Ty's still very much a member of the fam. He was actually, we were on the phone earlier. He was trying to help me troubleshoot when we had the audio problems. So Ty's just working on different things, documentaries, other projects. So it just didn't work out anymore to have him because we needed somebody who was available, we needed somebody more available, and he wanted to work on other projects. So I wish I had something scandalous to tell you, but Ty's still very much a friend of the coup and a friend of Jen and I. Jordan, Killer Mike, he knows the issues. I've reached out to Killer Mike, not only for an interview, but, see if he might be interested in dropping a couple coins in the coup. I haven't heard back. So if you know Killer Mike, tell him about Status Coup. Tell him about Status Coup. Paul, I am a volunteer. Blame me for the Bernie bros, not Jordan. I mean, honestly, I think it's laughable when CNN and these places say they're neutral. Obviously, they're biased. So I don't hide that I'm biased. Like, I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. But there's a difference between personally supporting someone and, using your outlet, whether you have 600,000 subscribers or whatever we are at, 64,000, it's fine for Kyle and Jimmy to do it because they don't claim to be journalists. They do commentary for a living and they offer their opinion. That's perfectly fine. But when you're a journalist, yes, you could give your opinion, but using your outlet to like make shirts for a candidate or try to fundraise for a candidate is different. Like, I don't interview candidates and then be like, tell the viewers, go donate to them. That's not my role. I could tell you what their website is. You could check out, what their policies are. Of course, you could donate if you want to, but I don't think it's ethical or responsible for a journalistic outlet to be so brazenly propping up a candidate, in my opinion. Good to know that Coup is still cool with Ty. Yeah, no. Ty helped us greatly get this thing rolling, so we love Ty. Nina Turner would be a great VP for Bernie. I agree. She's my preferred choice. Damn, I got disconnected. Calling back. Jeff, are you calling me? You keep saying pick up. I don't have any calls from anyone known as Jeff. Maybe I'm going crazy here. All right. Time for me to end for today. We finished at 714. 715. We just got a new member. So we are now at 715 members. We're going to do a little check this week at all the members that are now former members. Some of them might have had their credit cards get declined. Some of them might have had to temporarily cancel, but maybe they have better times now, because we definitely want to get this membership up. It's difficult as a startup. You don't want to focus on too many things, and you don't want to give people too many options. So we've been recently focusing more on GoFundMe to just finish the damn thing. So we're now at $78,244. Thank you to the over 1,000 donors we've had. So we're trying to finish this. We're less than $7,000 to go. So while we've been focusing on GoFundMe, we've been focusing less on membership. So, when we finish the GoFundMe, we're definitely going to be pushing our membership consistently and permanently. You're never going to stop hearing us pushing membership, because this is how we get the funding we need, not only to travel and report on things, but for equipment, and more importantly, to hire new people. We definitely need some marketing help, so Jen could focus more on the reporting and research. We definitely need another reporter. We definitely need to fix this website and just redo the website, because right now it's just frankly not up to snuff, our website, but we don't have the money or the tech help to fix it. So keep it coming. If you're not a member, I hope you'll consider signing up. I hope you've enjoyed watching today. We'll post some of the interviews. Nina, Mayor of San Juan, Puerto Rico, Carmen Yulin Cruz, Josh Fox, and the interviews we have with Bernie Sanders supporters. We have a bunch of them. And sign up. We really, really appreciate those who are signing up as a member. And we will have our call with our members this week. It's a monthly video call. It's not through YouTube, it's through Zoom. So you see my ugly face, I'll see your face. Jen will be on. We'll have a good time. And thank you. Thank you for keeping part of the community. The community. Thank you. I will see you tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern, as a reminder, we have an interview with former Green Party candidate Jill Stein. She will respond to the smears from Queen of the Warmongers, Hillary Clinton. So we will have that at 5 o'clock tomorrow. And remember, most people are not lacking compassion in this country that's become the United Corporations of America. Most people have no effing clue what is happening all around them. Peace out.